Hey, welcome back, guys. This is the Wikid podcast, and we're here for episode number 4. We're here with some of the Wikid creators, and we're here to talk a little bit about comics today. So thanks for joining us. What's up, guys?
Hi.
Hey.
Hey, I'm Vertical. How are you?
I'm Vertigo. What about you, Cody?
I'm existing currently, and I'm here. So
we're all in different states of existence today. It's one of those mornings.
We all appear to be sentient, at least,
which is good. It's a nice change for some of us.
Well, yeah, I just imitate it really well. It's actually I'm borderline sentient.
Yeah, would you say Cactus Coyote is somewhat of an autobiography, maybe?
I have no idea. I don't write it.
Well, maybe not an autobiography. Maybe just a regular biography then.
That I don't know. I would hope not. I would hope
it depends
not.
on how many details of Cody's life he's given to the writer.
Actually, this is a closely guarded secret, but today the part of Cody will be played by an algorithm I wrote last night. Cody's
Yeah, it's a pretty advanced algorithm.
See if you can spot the changes.
So myself.
Yeah. There'll be 3 changes throughout the episode, so pay close attention to look for those differences if you can spot them.
Yeah. Point of interest.
But we're here to talk today about comics, and speaking of comics, let's go ahead and talk to one of our first creators, Dan, and let's talk a little bit about Adobe Kroger today.
Hey, yeah. Okay, so Adobe Kroger is a story about, well, it's entirely a character-driven story about a world in which, magic exists, and there's a secret order called the Order of the Carolingian Cross, which originated from Charlemagne and his court, and they were not just merely a symbol of might against the Cicerone hordes, but they were actually full-blown holy knights. And the story takes place in the modern day with a young and inexperienced paladin named Adobe Kroger as she embarks on her first mission to unravel the depredations of a demonic cult. And she is accompanied by 2 teammates, Casey Crumb, a highly experienced and cynical wizard, and Reese Connolly, a vicious killer. Think John Wick with superpowers. Okay. So, yeah.
Now that's interesting. You said Charlemagne's court. So, well, what initially inspired you to work with something that's kind of based in this historical or myth, kind of realm,
Oh yeah, well, I've always been fascinated with the history of Western civilization and how it changed the world, and all the different aspects of it that enabled it to rise to prominence, despite the fact that it made a lot of advances far behind a lot of Eastern civilizations. And I've just been completely enthralled with the likes of Norse mythology and other things like that. So I really wanted to say, okay, what if the Holy Empire of Charlemagne and or like Constantinople, what if it never fell, or what if like all of the aspects of it persisted but in secret to the modern day, and what if it actually continued to secretly govern all of the world's events, but without anyone being any the wiser? Like, what would that world be like? And and that's what I was really interested in conveying the most here.
That's really interesting. And so it kind of, like you said, it's set in the modern day. So it takes those things from the past and it brings them into the modern day. So how did you take the elements from the past and how did you think of how did you come up with the idea for what that modern day version of Charlemagne's court would look like?
Interestingly enough, the idea which spawned this whole thing was I've always loved the paladin archetype. Be it in Dungeons and Dragons, be it in Final Fantasy Online, or be it in World of Warcraft or whatever, because I love the idea of a righteous, selfless warrior that always, like a Captain America, he in a heartbeat he would sacrifice everything to save one life, and I've always been fascinated with that. But what if I had a paladin who was the complete antithesis of that? Because what if she cursed like a sailor? What if she was completely incompetent? Or what if she just, pursued pursued her holy power out of a more of a selfish desire. And Adobe is sort of that. And I've always been interested in taking those archetypes and sort of inverting them, but not ironically. Yeah, not like a Whedon would do, like not like in a genre savvy way.
Right. This isn't that one cabin in the woods type of. We're not going that far.
No, not absolutely. I mean,
We're not nihilistically deconstructed.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what I am growing a little bit tired of. It's like characters that know they're in a horror movie, or characters that are aware of like this is what should happen in this kind of story. So I'm just going to invert it and subvert your expectations. Kind of like I don't know if you've ever read Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. I think the guy can write, but let me tell you, he relies very, very heavily on inverting tropes, and that's something I'm trying to avoid. But anyway, so long story short, I wanted to take like these archetypes and like, what if a young modern girl who's heavily traumatized and therefore is very cynical, and how would she handle having this power?
So is Adobe a bit of an anti-hero then?
Yes, very much so. Like one of the problems I've had with, for example, the Harry Potter books is Harry spent like his entire childhood being viciously abused and neglected, practically starved. And he not only emerged like none the worse for wear and became heroic and proactive and industrious, but he showed almost no signs of like what a child would actually show if they were treated like that for their entire childhood. And
that's really interesting.
Yeah, and Adobe is for those who haven't yet read the novel, I'll spoil a little bit of it, but her father died in the first. No, she didn't. He died at the outbreak of the Afghanistan war, and ever since then, her mother has been constantly bringing new men into her life that hated her, and so she's been viciously abused and neglected, much like Harry would have been. And the difference between her and Harry is that she actually shows the genuine effects of that kind of an upbringing, and then she gains the power that she gains as a teenager, and things just don't go well for someone who's had that sort of a past. Like, she doesn't automatically become a hero. She doesn't automatically say, "Hey, I'm selfless. I'm gonna, not only am I selfless, I'm going to be proactive and industrious, and I'm going to solve problems." No, she's messed up, and now she's got all this power. So how would that actually affect someone? Like getting all this responsibility and power when you really are just a broken person. So that's kind of the conceit of her. She is something of an anti-hero in that respect.
Is there a little bit of a play with like nature and nurture?
Yeah, absolutely. Because she sort of fixates on, this is kind of a running theme in my stories. Like in my webcomic Molly Beans, she never knew her father, and she kind of creates this idealized version of him in her head and kind of uses him as an anchor to reality. And that's kind of what Adobe does too. Like she never really got to know her father properly, and her mother was just a horrible person, like horribly neglectful and abusive, and often like comes right out and says, "Hey, I wish you were never born sometimes, like you're kind of in the way." And yeah, so
not an easy life for her.
No, absolutely not. So like Brett said, yeah, there's a lot of nature versus nurture, and I touch on themes of how childhood trauma can lead to addiction later on in life, and Adobe does deal with that quite a little bit. So there's some heavy themes in it, but there's definitely a lot of fun character interaction and a lot of cool action, and the comic actually touches on her very first mission and how everything just sort of starts rolling downhill from there. And that leads into the novel, where she is actually excommunicated from the Holy Order and has just lost any sense of meaning in her life. And so she starts at a very low place as we meet her in the novel.
Right, which is a big distinction from the novel from the comic series. You'll see a very different Adobe Kroger in each iteration. Is that right?
Yes, exactly. Like here's a good like, I don't know if you've seen that recent meme. It's been all over the place since the Avengers trailer, where you see Tony Stark from Iron Man 1 when he's demonstrating the Jericho missile, and he's got the suit on and he looks great. He's all in control of things. Mm-hmm. And then in the second picture, you see him sitting there talking to his helmet like, "I'm about to die." So it's like In the comics, she's at the height of her power, sort of. She's got all of her equipment. She's fresh out of training, and she's ready to just go out there and make a difference. And by the time we meet her in the novels, she's kind of at the opposite of that.
Now, what made you want to go back and tell those prequel stories? Since the novel was the original creation of it, wasn't it?
Yep. Yes, absolutely. The novel came first, and the reason I went back to do the comic was she references a lot of adventures that she had before she was excommunicated, and the novel is sort of like more of a character study. We see it from her point of view. She doesn't really understand the world as much as some of the other characters do, so we get to learn through her eyes. And I just wanted to actually show those adventures and to build out the world in ways that don't necessarily center on her point of view, because the novel takes place in a first-person voice. So I wanted to build out more of the world, show the readers more of what's actually going on. And Adobe herself doesn't necessarily know about all these things. So she's less the focal point and more of like just one of the main characters. I wanted to explore, like, why does Casey hate her so much in the novels? Why does Simon disrespect her so much? All these things. I wanted to set that up and to actually show it.
Well, that's pretty awesome. When can we expect to start seeing the first issue, or are you going to be crowdfunding it?
Yeah. Right now, the first 5 pages are fully inked and lettered. I brought on Eric Withers to letter, and he was the letterer for Jawbreakers and a number of other projects. And I also have Brett Smith on hand to color the cover. He's pretty excited to work with Leandro's art. And yeah, so
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Basically, Leandro, I finally found him. I was vetting like 4 or 5 other pencilers, and Leandro not only just nailed the look of the book, but also he turns the things around so fast, and he's so polite and professional that it's like, okay, I got to work with this guy. He's tops. So I take good care of him, and hopefully he's happy with what he's getting. And he's mentioned that he's really excited to hold the completed project in his hands, and he's all on board to help me promote with the crowdfunding. So I have the first 5 pages inked and lettered, and I want to have the cover done, and he's doing some character sheets for me right now. And that's what I will be presenting for my crowdfunding campaign. I'm actually going to have several pages I can show off, a nice color cover and some nice character designs. And hopefully by then I'll be good to go.
And you've already shown off a few pages as it is, and it's already looking amazing. I mean, I think that people are really enjoying what they've seen so far.
I certainly hope so, and if so, that's all thanks to Leandro. The man is a god-tier artist, and I'm really lucky to be working with him. And I'm blessed to be working with such an enthusiastic artist too. Like, he's really thrilled with this project, and he's happy to be working on it. So,
did you plug his Twitter handle?
Yeah, every single time I post his art, I tag him in it, and he's gained a significant amount of followers. He doesn't really focus on Twitter as much as he does on Instagram. But,
well, if you guys are interested out there, go check out his art on Instagram. It sounds like he's got a lot of cool stuff up there.
Yep, he's got it linked on his Twitter profile. And if you want to find him, I have a tweet pinned on my profile where he's tagged with examples of his art. And go follow him and go tell him you think he's awesome, because he absolutely is.
And just to be clear, Dan, Adobe Kroger is going to be in black and white, right?
Initially, yes. If the crowdfunding campaign is a success, or if I can grow my Patreon, or if Patreon still exists next year, the way things are going, people are very unhappy with it. But yeah, if I can raise up enough funds to justify having it colored, then I'm going to see if Brett Smith wants to color the interiors.
Really?
Yeah.
What made you want to just go with colors on the interiors?
If there's enough of a demand for it, I could. I've had a lot of people say, "Look, this looks awesome," and I think it would make a great book if you're going for like a Sin City feel. I've also had a lot of folks say, "Hey, look, I want to see this artwork colored because it just looks so amazing."
If I just want to put in my 2 cents, and it is just my 2 cents as more of a fan, really. The way I see it is actually I don't see it as it's like a Sin City style and it should be colored, because that's viewing it as a comic from a comic standpoint. But I actually view it as more from a manga standpoint. And as a manga reader, I want my manga black and white most of the time, you know. So I actually really like the black and white aesthetic.
Cool. Well, that's a good point. That's a good point, and I'm totally on board with you there. I've been reading a lot more manga than comics lately.
Oh, I love manga. Yeah, I mean, I love the storytelling and in the art, and I just think there's a lot of really cool stuff happening with manga right now. Actually.
Yeah, absolutely. Like my cartooning style is heavily influenced by Rumiko Takahashi. Actually, I was a massive fan of hers all throughout the '90s. I loved Ranma. I loved Lum. I loved Urusei. I love Inuyasha. And even I wrote short stories like, what was it, 10-Pound Gospel, about the boxer who just couldn't stop eating. And he was in love with a nun. It was a strange story, but it was fantastic. Like, she just absolutely nails the art of making you care about characters, and I think that's why she's been one of my greatest inspirations.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Something I kind of picked up on. We've got Canales. Dan has Brett Smith, and what was the other guy?
Eric Withers.
Eric Weathers. About the only guy who worked with DNC we didn't pick up was John Malin.
Hey, there's still time.
That is still young.
Right.
Maybe.
Well, if the crowdfunding campaign works and I get enough funds, I'll see about commissioning a pinup from him, and then we can close the circle.
I won't say never say never, but at this point, I don't think he'd be interested in working with us. He has his own thing going on right now.
Yeah, we're not wolf enough for him.
Wolf?
Yeah, we don't drink enough wolf milk.
Wolf, I don't know, man. I have like a whole can of wolf milk just in my fridge right now, waiting for me. So,
so he's going there.
I decided to switch almond milk to wolf milk just to ingratiate myself again.
Right. Now the real question is, how do they harvest the wolf milk? Because I imagine it's not an easy process, you know.
Oh God!
I saw a picture of it.
Ooh.
With it.
I don't really want to think about that.
Yeah, that's a terrifying thought.
Move away.
Please erase these mind images immediately. Anyone catches that reference, Prince, you're awesome.
Well, you can milk anything with nipples, so why not a wolf?
Right? Why not a wolf? That's a good question.
Yeah, but I can't imagine that it tastes that good.
Yeah, but here's also a question. Here's also a question. Why should we?
Yes. Why should we?
Why should I milk something with sharp teeth that can take off my arm when I have nice complacent cows?
Yes. It comes back to that classic Jurassic Park line. You were so busy thinking about whether you never stopped to think about whether or not you should.
Damn it, the classic conundrum.
Jeff Goldblum, you are my hero.
We need Jeff Goldblum in here. Get in here, Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, he's just I'm too busy doing something else. More important.
Like drinking wolf milk. That's basically what we're saying. That was just a long-winded way of saying Adobe Kroger.
Oh yes, thank you. So we're looking to finish up hopefully first quarter of 2019. If not, then we'll readjust. But Leandro is really fast. He's just juggling a lot of stuff right now. So I'm probably going to give him the last couple weeks off so we can just catch up on other stuff and relax and enjoy the holidays. And we'll hit the ground running first thing next year.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yep.
Okay, now
alrighty then.
How much details can you share with us about the campaign at this time, or are you keeping it under wraps, still working on it?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much what I said. I mean, I've got 5 sample pages that are fully lettered, so everyone will get a good idea of what to expect from the book. I'm going to have a colored cover and about 4 or 5 character sheets of all the principal players. One of which will be, interestingly enough, we've touched on this earlier, will be Brett's character Maeve's older sister, who makes an appearance in issue 2.
Oh, that's cool.
And begins to set up the relationship between these 2 properties for the shared universe.
Okay. And have you thought about tiers yet? Do you know kind of where your thoughts are with that, or at all?
I'm beginning to think I should keep it super simple. But we will. I'll reveal more of those as I think of them.
Yeah, as it gets closer to the time, I assume.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's awesome. Is there anything you want to tell your fans out there who are really excited about your project?
It's going to be a really fun, kind of light adventure story with a little bit of deep character development. What we're going to see set up here is the tension between Casey and Adobe is going to be hinted at all throughout the first issue, and the problem between with Reese and Casey kind of being an item and they both hate Adobe, but they're forced to work with her. It's going to come into play within the next couple of issues as well. And really, I just hope that everyone enjoys and is there with Adobe as she learns the ropes and deals with a lot of things that are making everything much more difficult than it needs to be. One thing that I really absolutely love is seeing characters start low and rise above difficulties. I really hate it when everything happens too easily. So I put my characters to the ringer, and I honestly think it's going to be a fun ride.
The one thing I really liked about Adobe Kroger, Dan, was that Adobe was about as lost as the reader was.
Oh yes, and that's a little trick you can use to use a first-person narrator to slowly reveal things about the world, rather than having like a character that really should know all these things and shouldn't really be asking questions. Like one thing that I found kind of irritating about Harry Potter was after 7 years of school, he's still completely clueless. It's like, hey, I never even learned how to fix a wound, even though I fixed someone's nose in book 6. I guess she forgot about that. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, that's.
You have some. Is it safe to say that you have some beef with the Harry Potter books?
Well, I have a beef with J.K. Rowling.
On her defense, I must say that I've been on. I was in art school for like 6 years, and I was equally clueless when I finished.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, but what I want to bring up is like Adobe, like I guess they use like a proper comparison is like comparing Adobe to say a Philip Marlowe. Because like if you've ever read like say one of the Marlowe novels, like The Big Sleep, and like I'm like Marlowe's not an idiot, but but there's still so much of the big picture he's not in on and he has to put things together, but he does sort of get through it using his intuition and his intelligence and his own wits. But Adobe, like, she's like a more deficient version of that.
That's a very apt comparison. Yes, I mean,
she's not a Gary Stu, right? I guess.
No, she's not especially astute. She's definitely not a super genius.
Or rather, let me. Sorry. I said Gary. You guys heard of that term by any chance?
Oh, a Gary Stu?
Mm-hmm. Basically, it's a character
instead
in
of
a
Mary
story.
Sue.
Right.
Mary Sue's more common.
Is that really? Oh, I didn't know that. That's funny. My friend always
just
told
because
that other way.
It's brought up with like Rey from Last Jedi and such like
that
because it's a modern trend. Captain Marvel most likely is going to be a very big Mary Sue because she's going to save everybody.
Oh my God! If she comes in and shows the Avengers how it's done, I'm out.
Exactly.
That's the idea.
Of the Avengers movie.
It's the infallible character who doesn't ever lose, who always wins, who knows everything.
Yeah, I think the worst part about Mary Sue is the fact that she doesn't have to learn anything. You know, the arc of the character is already finished by the time you start.
That's a very good point. Like Luke couldn't stand up to Darth Vader until the 3rd movie. And Rey just walks all over Kylo Ren the first time she picks up a lightsaber. I was so dissatisfied with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a story in itself. You know, how did she learn to fight? That's where the story is. That's what we need. What's with what we want to see. You know, the end result is, it's not really that interesting.
Yeah, so much wasted potential with that character. Really, she could have been so much better.
Yeah, but going back to the Adobe Marlowe comparison, like I said, like the thing with I've read The Big Sleep, and like I said, Marlowe may not know the bigger picture, but but you can tell that this isn't a guy who gets caught off guard hard. Whereas, like I said, throughout Adobe Kroger, it just seems like one turn after another, Adobe's making just a bad call or getting caught off guard, and like she's constantly in over her head.
Yes, very much so. I liken it to one of the comparison I like to make is like imagine like Black Widow on laundry day without any of her gear, and she's got a hangover, and she's thrown into a Die Hard situation in an episode of Jack Bauer's 24, and that's Adobe Kroger, Knight Errant, the novel. Yeah, she is so ill prepared, and she's surrounded by like more competent companions. But in the end, she actually does pull everything together, but without spoiling it.
Yeah, that was like I mean, like even though she was kind of portrayed as being in over her head, she was at least able to think up solutions on the fly.
Right, because she had to. She was a cornered rat, basically. But but yeah, that's the long and the short of it. That's what I want readers to take away from it, is that we're on this journey with her. We know about as much as she does, although she's got a little bit more knowledge than we do. And by the end of it, she just hopefully the journey is satisfying, because everything that she succeeds, everything that she pulls off is earned.
It also reminds me of Sherlock Holmes and Watson with Simon and Adobe.
Oh yes, yes. She actually makes that comparison where it's like she's Watson with a lot of I don't know moments, and I can't keep up with this man who's like better than me in every way. But then she says, wait a minute, I'm trying to keep up with Sherlock effing Holmes here. I'm really not that stupid. It's just that he's really freaking amazing. Yeah.
Let's look at why Watson was the principal viewpoint character in the novels, because you can't follow Sherlock.
Exactly. Like you're supposed to like be as surprised as Watson is when Sherlock makes all of his amazing observations. And that was the payoff of the book, was like, I can't wait to hear how he explains how he figured this out. And it's always like every last one of those short stories was amazing. I think I love them.
Yeah, and it's kind of the same. It's kind of the same with like the Marlowe novels, because like I said, like you got the sense there's a bigger picture going on, and you want to see, and Marlowe can figure it out, and you just want to see him put the pieces together.
Yep. So that is Adobe Kroger in a nutshell.
Can I ask you a quick question? Because I've seen art of a secondary character that you've done, and it's basically I think she's seems to be your companion of sorts.
Yes, you're probably thinking of Casey Crumb, the wizard who wields a garden hoe, and there's a reason she wields a garden hoe. There's a reason wizards in this world wield ridiculous staves or stand-ins for staves, and that will be explained in the comics and in the second book. But yes, that is Casey Crumb. She is a wizard, very powerful wizard, and she's forced to work with this barely competent, out of training green newbie. And that's a humiliating point of contention for that will come into play later.
So she's not going to be too friendly with her, I'd imagine.
Oh no! Like right from the get-go, she's snarky with her, and she's impatient with her. And one of the things that Adobe has to deal with is a severe speech impediment, and she stutters very frequently when she encounters stress. And this is a huge problem because in order to use her power, she must vocalize her intent. So if she ever gets stuck when she's trying to substantiate a prayer or a blessing, things can get pretty dicey. So in the comic, when she starts to stutter, Casey is like, "Are you not wearing your fucking speech easy?" Which is like a little thing in your ear that can remedy your stuttering. And she has very little respect for her, and she's very.
Now, is that something you created, or is that based on real technology?
Oh, it's real technology. Basically, what it does is stutterers can put this little thing in their ear that records and plays back what they're saying like a microsecond later.
Oh wow!
And it's based on a phenomenon that if a stutterer speaks along with somebody else, then they don't stutter.
Oh wow!
That's it's strange. Like you can look around on YouTube. John Stossel did this really great documentary because he's a stutterer, where they go into all the still no one understands what causes it, but we're beginning to make strides in remedying it. And a speech easy was one of the biggest breakthroughs. So yeah,
that's pretty interesting.
Guys, we got a couple of questions in the chat. Danku's asking to the Spanish troublemaker, why do you keep getting banned?
Because he's too cool for school.
Because I'm too sexy.
It's for the Twitter.
That's an unfair comment, because I only got banned once, because the idiots who were viewing the reports at the time were idiots. And the second one because I evaded my ban, because I refused to be banned unfairly. And the thing is, I was quoting Commando to my friend Smacking Kraken. We were just joking around, and I told him, I like you, I'll kill you last. And one of the usual
does nobody know that's from Commando?
That's what I said when I appealed my ban.
Well, you gotta keep in mind, these people are probably a lot younger.
No,
They have
these
seen
people
Commando.
Man, I'm 28 and I've seen Commando.
Commando is toxic masculinity, and we're dealing with Silicon Valley, folks. Trying to argue for logic here. Just look at it at face value, because that's all there is, obviously.
Are you going to be coming back to Twitter in some form, hopefully soon?
Probably. I won't be telling anyone, because that would mean that the usual suspects will be swarming me up.
Right, you got to keep it on the down low.
Yeah, but at some point I might go.
But if you guys see a Mr. Boily Pants or like a Squiggly Doodle Bob or some sort of strange name that you don't recognize, that could be Ken Alice.
All right,
I would probably call myself El Españolo Sexo or something. Because I know other chicks like that.
True, they do. Especially the Spaniard chicks. The Spanish. You got to tell us about the Spanish girls. I mean, come on, Canales, dish, man. You got to dish.
No, believe me, you don't want anything to do with Spanish women. American women are cooler, in my experience at least.
Oh, it's just good to know.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the next one, and if this one's for Dan, it's from Slick Jimmy Speaks. Is Adobe good at Photoshop?
Oh, she gets that a lot. And no, she is completely useless at it.
Oh man, she's more like Adobe Acrobat.
Only Acrobat Reader. She can't edit.
Exactly. Yeah, that's. I would say that's interesting. What kind of technology exists in Adobe Kroger? Is it how far is it our modern day, or is it our near future?
It's the recent past. The comic takes place in 2012. Because I wanted to avoid any current year references. I didn't want to deal with I didn't want to have to deal with, the whole post 2016 nonsense. Like, this takes place all before that, and everyone's still somewhat innocent. And the internet, like, things going viral is still somewhat of a new concept, and things like that. So yeah, I deliberately said it in the recent past to avoid any chance of any current year references.
Hey, Changeling's set in current year, and it avoids all that.
Well, yeah, she lives in Aberdeen. Nothing happens in Aberdeen.
And also, she's in high school. She doesn't care.
But I find interesting is I actually like when sometimes shows or comics or different things are set in a time period, because especially for shows, because after a while, even though you're moving on obviously in real life, the shows don't, and so it's kind of like this chunk of time that you're seeing. It's set in its own time, Oh
yeah, I agree. I love period pieces. That's why Captain America was my favorite of the first phase of the Marvel movies.
No, are you excited? I know there's a lot of people not excited for the new Captain Marvel movie. However, are you excited for that aspect of it at the very least?
I'd be interested to see how they portray the 90s. I just hope they don't throw in a bunch of Spice Girls stuff just for oh, look, it's the Spice Girls.
I'm predicting there's going to be at least one grunge song on that soundtrack.
I'm expecting Hanson. I'm going to see some bop going on there.
I was thinking NSYNC maybe,
I'm just hoping they don't hack. They don't be complete hacks. And if they have to play grunge, can they pick something other than Nirvana?
No, they can't. I'm afraid. I'm telling you right now, they can't.
The audience doesn't know what's playing. And everyone knows Nirvana.
There was.
I foresee a lot of Nirvana songs and people with hardwired tattoos on their arms. That's in 90s for me.
Well, it's going to be a Disney movie, so it's obviously going to be a boy band.
Let's go. Wait, then it's got to be One Direction. Wait, no, that is not the right time period.
That is so. I'm like, you tell me grunge is not family friendly.
No, No, Nirvana. I don't know. Would you guys call Nirvana family friendly?
I mean, he has the longest, most dedicated song about wanting to be raped ever. So I mean,
he was referencing MTV, Cody.
Ugh, smells like spirit in here.
Do you think people now in 2018 know that? No. So
remember why I got
over and over again.
Twitter, right?
I was gonna try suggesting Alice in Chains, but they got a song called "Them Bones."
I like that song.
Yeah,
that's a great song.
Yeah, "Them Bones" is good, but yeah, it's like I feel so alone. Gonna end up a big old pile of them bones.
Well, it's fine. We can talk about gambling. That's fine.
Well, I would be astonished if they have any Soundgarden, to be honest.
And if they do, they better pick something other than Black Hole Sun.
Oh,
I don't know. I doubt. To be honest, I'm not sure. I mean, I'm just. It might not be this musical. I feel like it's not this musically focused, perhaps.
No, yeah, that's my thinking. Honestly, I thought the Spice Girls are like doing a reunion tour, aren't they? So I think that kind of ups the possibility.
No.
But
oh boy.
But yeah, I'm stoked for the original Captain Marvel. I'm stoked for Shazam way more than Captain Marvel.
I think that's the general consensus on the internet right now.
Yeah.
Quick side topic, just real quick. What are your guys' thoughts on the new movie Brightburn being directed by James Gunn?
He's making another movie.
He's making a He's making a DC movie. It's called Brightburn, and it's basically evil Superman. What if Superman came to Earth and became evil instead? And it's directed by him. I'm like, what? What the heck?
I thought he was directing the part 2 of Suicide Squad.
That was a lot of the rumors at first, but turns out like they gave him that Brightburn movie instead.
That sounds like that's a little bit serious for James Gunn.
Yeah,
that whole concept's been run into the ground again and again. Of course, you could have an evil Ubermensch. All you're watching is some dude kill people. I don't see the emotional bit of that. I don't see any progression there. I mean, what's the one called? The animated. They always test it with an animated movie first. What the hell is the one where he's a Mexican immigrant?
Oh fuck!
You're thinking Justice League Gods and Monsters, dude.
Gods and Monsters, yeah. So that's and of course there's what was it, Red Sun or whatever?
Yeah, Red Sun by Mark Millar, where he crashed.
Oh yeah, jeez.
Yeah, I can't. I'm not behind. A Huntress movie. Sure, go for it. But just again, trying to do something else with Superman that's been done a million times. Oh my god.
Pretty weird. Yeah.
And with James Gunn's history, I can't really be too stoked. I really enjoyed the Guardians movies, and I would have loved to have remained ignorant, but I don't. So it's kind of hard for me to really enjoy any of it. You know,
I don't know.
James Gunn isn't directing; he's producing. So he's not going to have a whole lot of control over how.
For which one?
He's directing.
If he's producing, then he's the money guy. He's
for which one? Brightburn.
Yep.
Oh, okay. So it's not. It's just.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. If he's just throwing money at it, yeah, I don't.
Well, actually, here's the thing. I mean, like, I don't. This is something I learned from my brother when he was studying film back in college. You have no idea how much authority a producer can wield over a film because they are the money.
Well,
they are also
producing it, but it's also his brother's writing it.
Oh.
Sean Gunn? Yeah.
No, Mark Gunn and Brian Gunn. He's got a lot of brothers.
Oh man, yeah.
Well, then, they're calling this article is calling it James Gunn's Brightburn, so it does sound like he has a lot of creative control.
Yeah, like I said, if he's the producer, then like I said, he's got the money. He's the guy who has to sign off on everything, say this is okay, that's okay. But like I said, producers
I'm fine with James Gunn.
A lot of influence over how a film turns out.
I'm fine as James Gunn as an artist. I have no problem with that. That's not my issue. Like I said, I would have loved to see his Guardians 3. Yeah, I have an issue with the publicity and then with all what caused that shit. He didn't just hurt that person, he hurt the whole industry. And here he is right again in the same industry being celebrated. And I just I'm not a fan of that. It's not a subject I'm here to really talk about.
Right. I don't know if we should get into it really because we'll go off on a whole other topic. We could probably avoid that for now.
At least he wasn't arrested for beating up his girlfriend. And then celebrate as if nothing happened because he can sing and dance.
Well, there's that.
Like, yeah, I mean, when you think about it, I mean, like, Mel Gibson basically had to crawl on his feet to get back.
Oh boy.
Head back after his little incident.
Huh.
Yeah, you're acting like there's one, but I got
Oh,
you.
there's a million of them. Yeah, there's yeah. It's a story as old as time, really.
Well, yeah. I mean, the high end industries, no matter what you're in, foster debauchery and horrific behavior on levels that aren't shown. The ones that are shown are bad enough. The ones that get leaked, but the ones that aren't is just, oh my god. So that's here for comics.
Well, that's why they don't leak it.
It's just the reason I see is it's a controversial topic is just because I see it as there's really, I mean, it's hard to look at it in both ways. I mean, if you look at it as one way, things that you shouldn't, I mean, if you look at, it's basically what South Park is touching on this season, which is the political correctness culture and how dangerous that can be. And so, like, I do as coming from, I've had to think about this a lot, and so I do see that there are good points on both sides. So I see it as a very complicated issue.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I think too. Again, as the artist, and again, there's no, as far as I saw, there was no hardcore proof against James Gunn or anything. It's once again just allegations. But sadly, this industry,
Right.
just the entertainment industry as a whole, has fostered this kind of behavior since its inception, probably back in
Oh shit, you're right.
Think
of McCarthyism, right?
I don't even think there was.
Think about
I don't
McCarthyism.
think that.
I don't even think there was
the
allegations.
James Gunn thing was just,
Go ahead.
the James Gunn thing was just a matter of publicity, because they were just afraid that him being linked to somehow allegations of pedophilia will harm the box office of the movie, so they just shafted it. That's pretty much it. It was just a matter of public perception.
Yeah, it's a thing. It's a matter of.
There was allegations.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's the thing. It's just it's too early in the morning for this kind of talk. And I was here for Wikid comics, so I'm gonna
Not
stop
for me.
talking, and I will bail. Here's
You just need a little wolf milk.
I just want this
down
conversation.
Just down a can of wolf milk, Cody, and you'll be all set. It'll be like a reset for us.
I fucking hate that. I was joking when I was talking about that, fella.
Oh,
I'm not a fan of
okay.
any of that war drum beating. That
Oh,
all
I don't
these
know what it
people
means.
are
Honestly,
doing.
to me, it just sounds like a can of milk. That, like, I was being serious. Get a can of wolf's milk.
No, I got you. But no, there's connotations
If you want,
to
it could be
all of that
coyote
are
milk,
just
since I know
crap.
you're into coyotes more than wolves. So
Telling someone go milk a wolf
That's a
sounds
Cactus
like a really
Coyote
classy
reference,
way
by the
of
I think I might have a way we can solve Cody's problem, Mike. Why don't we just hook it with Black Rifle Coffee as a sponsor? Then Cody can get coffee for free, maybe.
More caffeine will not help my temper right now.
You buy though. What were you about to say though? You said it sounds like something.
Goat milk. I heard goat milk.
I was going to say that telling someone to go milk a wolf sounds like a very classy way of telling him to fuck off.
Yeah.
I did not think about that.
Oh my god.
Go milk a wolf. Sounds cool.
Yeah, go milk a wolf, you bastard. Yeah, that's a good one. I'll remember that one for sure. In fact, I could see that popping up in an issue of Decimators. Go milk a wolf.
Yeah. I'm officially adopting that expression for use in the future Canaloverse, because I have my own universe, guys.
The Canalisaverse. But getting back to, I don't know, comics. I mean, do you guys want to talk about some of your comics? Who's interested in any updates?
I got an update.
Ooh, do dish, please tell.
Yes. And it actually could not have been more timely, because I woke up this morning to find out that Ginger told me that the pages I've sent over to her that are nearly finished being colored, she has to just let me make sure. I want to make sure I get her wording right. She sent me something over DM over Twitter. She just needs a bit of a color balance on the other page I sent her. But like I said, the only reason why she can't work any faster is because she has to use her boyfriend's PC, and she does not always have access to it.
It is an unfortunate situation, yeah. And that's why you were trying to get her funded for a PC. Is that right?
That's what I want. That's what I would like to. If we can get like to up 1,000K a month on Patreon, to like, I don't know,
1,000K. Holy shit!
Did I say 1,000K? No. I meant.
Oh, is that even a number? That's like I think it's like $1 million.
Probably $1 million.
Okay, look, I want to get to 1K a month.
Nice computer.
I want to get to 1K a month on Patreon just so we can get her a PC. Although that could, at the rate we're going, that God knows how long that could take. So, this is just something we have to put up with until the situation improves.
What if there's any places like that you can maybe use like public access computers that might help?
I have no idea of that. If you're talking like a library or something, I'm not sure they do that. But like,
right.
Like
or
I said, yeah, like I said, it's just like this is just a problem we're gonna have to put up with for the time being. I mean,
that's a hurdle to get over.
Yeah. Although I've also got Victor sketching on another page, as well as a couple. I'm gonna work on some character sketches on his end, and also I'm gonna have Ginger start on some concept art. Gonna actually just need to figure out what the pricing will be. I'm gonna probably start her off with Maeve's bedroom, which is something that's going to be a very important locale. That seems like something we should knock out first.
Are they going to be hanging out a lot in that room?
Well, it's more like it's important. Well, it's important to her.
So it's not like she's having like the other characters come in. They're not spending time solving things, doing things there.
That'd be lame. Like, what's the point of having a whole town if you don't explore it?
Well, that's true, and that's a good point. I mean, that is part of the fun of the singular town location.
Yeah.
Hey, Brett, I have a question about the bedroom. Have you ever considered making a 3D model of the room so that you can change the angles around when you need to and have everything be consistent?
I might actually have to reach out to Model 316 for that. So yeah,
like that's what a lot of creators do.
Yeah, I'll probably have Ginger like sketch out, work on some concept art for what she imagines it would look like, and then I'll pass it off to Model 316 to like model just so Victor's got something he can work off of consistently. But I think probably what's the great thing about working with Victor and Ginger is that they're an art team whom I can just let them do their thing, and I know whatever they'll turn out, I'll like.
I'm fortunate enough to be in the same situation.
Yeah, I don't really have to give them that much direction.
That's always what you want, I think, in an artist team or artist-writer team, you know?
Depends. Depends. Like, I bet in my pocket when I had Brian and Trent, Brian would tell me that he would off back to Luigi like 8 or 9 times before he got it what he wanted, and that's just because Brian is about some details, mainly those dealing with because there's like very supposed to wield weapons and do moves, so he's very particular about that. There's no real right way to do this. Sometimes you can be more hands off, sometimes you can be more hands on. All I would say is if the results speak for themselves, it works.
A good comparison to make is Han Solo improvising the "I know" line. They're creative people too, and they might have a better way of doing it. Like in particular, there was an angle that I specified. I want this to be shot from above, and Leandro turned in a shot from below, and it was 1,000 times more interesting. So,
not disagreeing. I'm just saying, like, what I'm getting more out of Dan is like I said, like everyone here has seen what Rags looks like.
Rags? You say Rags?
What's Rags?
What rag? What is this Rags you speak of? I know no Rags.
Yeah, everyone's seen what Rags looks like. Like I said, like
Is that a comic?
They want I to tell what it Rags is.
Yeah, like I said, but yeah, what I'm getting at is like, yeah, you can sort of you can be more hands-on, you can be more hands-off. Like I said, at the end of the day, if the product looks good.
Hey man, if we're talking Rags, I want to be all hands-on. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying, guys?
Yeah. Yes,
I want that full body freckle experience.
Yeah. Now it's like when you were working on Iron Sights with DNC, like was he more hands-on or hands-off with you?
Do you mean on the whole freedom approach to the art thing?
Yeah, like would he just basically let you do what you wanted and just, or like did you ever have to like did you ever to like redo a page over because he needed this particular thing to look this particular way?
Sometimes, especially for the last act of the story, so to speak. But I'm sure you guys know that it was at first a movie script, right? I told you that already.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what I would do was basically turn it into storyboards. You know, quick, easy, slightly crappy layouts. You know, and I would present that to Zach, and he would let me know if that worked or not. And more often than not, he would trust my insight as an artist. You know, only at the end, you know, the final act of the story, when he wanted to convey this, you know, we tried to make it more sequential than cinematic. So there were things that didn't work in comic book format. So in order to give the ending more punch, I gave him more creative control on that matter. But overall, yeah, he was pretty, you know, pretty less fair capitalist with me, and I appreciate that.
That's what I heard the experience was with Jawbreakers. He would just give like a general description, like knife hand does this, and then John Malin would just run with it.
I think his preferred method to writing scripts is the old school Marvel way, in which the writer would write a quick sketch of what a page should look like, and apart from that, he would give the artist total freedom.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing Stan Lee talk about how he would do that, and he would let Jack Kirby just run with it, you know.
I think I remember watching a Daredevil documentary when he was what did he? I can never remember the guy Stan Lee worked with when he was making Daredevil, but what I do remember was like he would let the guy sort of plot out the comic himself with the panels, and then he would write the dialogue around the images.
The Marvel method is Stan would come up with what the character's going to do this week, and then he would tell whatever team it was.
By the way, sorry, I just wanted to correct. Oh shit! No, go ahead. Go, Cody.
He would tell whatever team it was that idea. Then the team would make the issue, and then he'd rewrite to the panels. That's the Marvel method. That's how they got 6 or 7 comics out a month, is because the artists were working constantly off of not a script that they had to wait for, but a general idea that Stan gave them. It was genius for them. DC, of course, they want their scripts, and they want them organized, and they want to know exactly what's going to be on page. Both methods are great.
By the way, I just wanted to correct what I said. I said Jack Kirby, but I believe I meant to say Steve Ditko. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, it could have been. You know, it could have been either one of them.
They're all interchangeable.
More like in the sense, like I could believe that either one of them could have pulled that off. They were both that good.
I don't know if
what I was saying was they both did. It was multiple teams, and Stan told them a general idea. Then the team would make it, and then he'd write to what the team produced.
So there was kind of shifted teams.
Yes, you are, Matt.
You're in there.
Okay.
But it was kind of like a shifting team dynamic. It sounds like then.
Yeah, it's just to get enough books out to make enough money to survive.
Wow.
They treat it like a business? What?
It kind of comes back to what I said. Like, there's really no right way to do this. No.
Yeah, no, that's true. You got to find your own way. Every different group is trying to figure out the best way to do it for themselves, and
It all depends on the team, right? I mean, if one artist responds better to being let go, or being allowed to be freedom, if you know what I mean, and maybe other artists will respond better to being treated like the army. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or maybe you got a writer who's just very particular about what he wants. Like I said, if the results speak for themselves, then you know it works.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've worked with a couple different artists, and how I write the comic actually changes for each individual artist I work with. For example, when I work with Matt on Project R, I write it out like a novel with very detailed descriptions and dialogue and emotions and everything written out exactly like a novel. Whereas when I work with Jeff on Barrels, I write it out just page by page, and then just kind of like the dialogue, the bare minimum, what's happening, and then he fills out the panels and everything else himself. So it's really interesting working, and I think the artists usually have preferences. Is that your experience as well?
Well, in my experience, like so far I've only had one team, which is Victor and Ginger, and with my script for Changeling, like there's kind of detailed descriptions. They're not overly detailed, just enough that I want. I'll sort of like be detail when it comes to like expressions and such. And luckily, Victor is really good with expressions. Like he's. I don't know if anyone saw one of the pages. Like, let me see if I can. I'll drop this in the group chat. But I mean, like, if you guys have seen that, like, you guys know that like he fucking nails that. Like, he is really good with that.
Yeah, his acting is.
But there's something. But there are other things like other details I kind of leave out, which they can pretty much fill in and they seem to be able to fill in the blanks on their own. Like, I think probably one of the best way I can put it is that the reason why Victor and Ginger work really good as an art team is that their styles complement each other. Because like Victor's line work is good, but he'll leave a lot of empty space out, and that gives Ginger a lot of freedom to add in details. Like, everyone remembers what the cover for issue 1 looks like. All those background details, Victor did not draw any of those. That was all Ginger.
Really?
She put in everything, and for some reason, I didn't know. What? This thing has been okay, you know what? Screw it. I'll just go to screen share.
Screen share time.
You're too young to be a boomer, Brett.
A boomer? What's a boomer?
Well, that's slang for an old, out of touch individual. A baby.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I guess you're too young to know what a boomer is. That's funny.
Those would be my parents. And I'm a millennial. Like everyone says that there's just nothing there. Nothing there. Just me. Yep. Everything you see in the background, Ginger added all that in.
Oh wow. That was all added in colors.
Yeah, nicely done.
Yeah, she did all that. That's all. Yeah, that was all her. So like that's why they are perfect.
They complement each other well.
Yep.
Simpatico.
Yeah, I've got the two teams, but with Jack, me and Maxie, it really is. I just give him the outline of the script, and then he'll fill in whatever panels he feels need to go on the page that aren't represented, and then I'll write to the finished pages as they come in. And with Cactus Coyote, I'm the letterer editor, so I just kind of do my little tweaks to it after the pages come in. Because the rest of it's already written. I just I tweak it a little bit. And so, I mean, yeah, it's different for everybody. Every team's going to be different. I've found every script is different, or every scripting style, to be specific, is different. I've seen a lot, and everybody does it different. So comics, I really do enjoy the fact that it's so open-ended in how you can actually make the thing manifest. With film, for instance, you have to have there's a few have a specific kind of I don't know, a flow to it to get it to general audiences, where comics you can hit a much wider audience with a lot more varied techniques, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it is really a powerful medium, you know, in a lot of ways because it combines so many different
I'd
forms.
use the word liberating almost, just because it's not so pigeonholed.
Which is why I think to the viewpoint that the general public needs to have on comics needs to start changing, because it's already changed in other countries. I think we may have touched on this before, but I just I feel that, Canales was talking about how in Spain, what didn't you say in Spain they take like a year or something to make comics, or like
it's more of the French Belgian market.
Oh, the French, right. The French, yeah. So it's just interesting, It is interesting that with such a powerful medium, more people need to be aware of that. Maybe, I don't know, but maybe that's why movies are so important. Why comic book movies are important and should be seen.
Well, that's the thing, and that's the big perplexing question. At least I had, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other people have. The most successful these IPs have ever been, monetarily and known wise through these films, but their origins and the medium which birthed them is in one of the biggest declines it's ever known, and it just does not correlate. And it doesn't make sense that the comic book industry doesn't leverage the movie comic book industry very well. If really at all they do is try to feed the movie, and they don't use the movie to feed the books for crud. The only people I really see doing that, when I used to go to my capital, the Santa Fe for a long time, they had a movie theater there that was next to a comic book shop, and the comic book shop made sure that every time a comic book movie was in, they would be giving a free comic away of that movie, and they'd have an advertisement of the shop there. So you bring in the ticket from the movie theater, you'd get a free comic. If you brought in a comic to the movie theater, you'd get a discount on your ticket.
Wow.
I thought that was genius, especially since the comic book shop was within walking distance. I thought that was really smart. But that was a local trying to do the best for his business. I'm not seeing the same at the corporate level, and I kind of find that disappointing. I remember back in the day they gave out a re-release of the first appearance of the Punisher and Amazing Spider-Man with the Punisher movie release. What was that? The one with Thomas Jane. So this was a while back. It was like 2004.
That's pretty interesting.
But that was cool. Everybody got a copy of the first appearance of Punisher.
Damn, that's hecka smart. They could even, they could even do something as simple as giving out digital download codes for a Kindle edition or something,
Yeah, or you can just scan your phone on the movie poster or something going in, and you get a free book, a free comic of that leads into it. Because I know Marvel loves doing their movie tie-in comics.
Oh yeah.
and there's a way to get the word out. Do a little ash can that you can just scan a movie poster, and you get an ash can that leads right into the movie.
Exactly.
It's just it makes very little sense. It almost seems malicious in the fact of how they're trying to limit this medium. And again, it's kind of liberating because it opens up the indie market, but it shrinks the general market, and that's the issue.
Yeah, the problem with like Marvel and DC is that they don't these days they don't exist to sell comics. They exist to license IPs.
Yep. When they could be doing both.
Into what's the word? Life brands or something like that. Lifestyle brands.
Yeah, they're much more on the ball with their like Marvel Puzzle Quest, for instance. They very closely link in the films with their releases on that game, but the comics, like you said, are just completely ignored for the most part.
Yeah, I think they become like the merchandising department of the movies. They're just trying to sell, mugs and lunch boxes with Captain America and whatnot, more than the comics themselves.
Yeah, they're products, not stories.
Yeah, which is just once again, it's just from a business standpoint. You have this audience that's been there for 60, basically a century, honestly, for Timely, and it's you're deciding to not leverage that, like, but just directly deciding not to do that. It doesn't make much sense.
Why do we need the comics? We got the T-shirts, we got the action figures, we got all the merchandise. All these nerds will buy.
Can sell the action figures.
But that's why. But that's the thing.
That's can sell your lifestyle.
That's what's so
merchandise
about the movies.
The real money is like how long until we were at How long till we're getting Marvel flamethrowers sold at Walmart?
Not long, I'd imagine.
Until Elon Musk gets some kind of Iron Man license.
Right. Oh, dude,
dude,
that's the next thing going to be on the Boring Company. It's going to be the Iron Man suit, dude.
It's going to be a lot more like the Hammer suit. I bet a lot of twisting spines.
Oh God, he's like not. It's like not. It's like a little asterisk, not responsible for any twisted spines.
Although, to be honest, like, who would not buy a Marvel licensed flamethrower?
Hey, to be fair, that pilot survived that. So.
Oh yeah. I'm sure he's fine.
Supposedly, that pilot survived. We only have Hammer's word to go on.
That's true. Better see the guy at the hospital. I'll tell you that.
Oh man.
Well, he probably survived, but he's probably now a quadriplegic.
Could be.
Oh God, at least.
Oh, this is an interesting quote. I know Brett's kind of into the wrestling angle. Danku Artist says merch versus actual issue. For example, even in WWE, they bail on what hardcore fans want, and they say, "Hey, our merch is doing fine, so whatever."
Whoa.
Exactly. So why would they care about the comics when they got all the merchandise?
Must be
because
just
it's another
that must
industry
be a
with
big
an
issue.
established base that could be profitable.
Wow, but see, that's the thing. That's because they have this lackadaisical attitude. They're like, well, we're doing okay over here, so we don't really need to focus on this part over here.
I mean, it's like that. It's like that episode of Simpsons where Moe is ringing up the cash register so loud he can't hear Homer say, "You lost yourself a customer."
Yeah, the flaming Moe one.
That other episode where it's Lisa versus Malibu Stacy, and she makes and Smithers goes, but she's got a new hat.
He's got a new hat, he says?
Tries to make this. Well, what goes on in that episode is like Lisa finds it's kind of a sort of a take on the whole Barbie controversy, because Lisa starts finding Malibu Stacy problematic, quote unquote. And so she ends up.
Well, I mean, I mean, technically, this one, in my opinion, was a little bit problematic. I mean, it was literally telling girls that their only value was to look pretty and to work in the house. Literally, not figuratively, not implying, not through visuals. No, it was.
Well, that was the whole. Well, that was the whole joke, though.
Yeah, I know. I get you. I'm just saying it wasn't. It wasn't just an implication or something off-put. She had cause.
Yeah, she goes to the Malibu Stacy people, and she convinces them to let her design a new doll that is more empowering to girls, and it takes off pretty well. And then they just got a new doll, and about the only thing different about it is that it has a new hat, and everyone goes nuts for it.
Oh my God, she has a new hat! So progressive, jeez. Something like that, right?
Yeah.
Remember when The Simpsons used to be cool and smart and edgy?
Yes.
Wasn't that like, what, 15 years ago?
The problem
At least
I
was in high school. I know I was in high school when that happened.
Yeah, I've heard it used to be pretty good. Like the early seasons are pretty awesome.
Seasons are some of the best television ever made.
That's because they were subversive at that time. Over like 9 years, they became what they were making fun of.
Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of the thing with like Marvel and DC. It's like why would they care about the comics when they got all these toys they can sell and basically make up the losses with them?
And that's the thing. It's not just toys. The toys and it's the movies now, because now the movies got the big actors. They were smart. They're like, we're gonna get every big actor and we're gonna put them in this franchise, and everybody's gonna come see it because they love those actors.
Yeah, I know, but yeah, that's the point. Like I said, like the comics have just become an afterthought. They don't.
It's very sad.
They don't need them.
But I know all of this. I just don't understand how they're not leveraging something that's already under them. You know, they're leveraging it maybe ideologically, so I should look at it from that angle. But from a business profit angle, you use what you have at all times the best you can. It doesn't make sense to, if any part of your brand, especially if you're trying to be a lifestyle thing, that's not doing great, is negative to you. It doesn't matter if it matters financially it's doing wrong, not it's just it's a bad thing. So you could sell it, you could do, there's a lot of different ways to go about it to make it not that anymore, but leaving it that doesn't make much sense to me, except once again, I guess, if you're trying to destroy and hold down an industry and you're trying to push a certain set of ideology through, then yeah, I guess this is one method to do it until the thing kills itself. But you know, that's not healthy, and I'm surprised how many people have to confirm that that's the right thing to do for it to actually happen. It's just doesn't make much sense. That's all. It's illogical.
Yeah,
I know.
I don't disagree, man. Yeah. Although if there's a silver line to that, it's that because we can't rely on merchandise, that means our books have to live and die by their own merits.
Yep. Yeah, no.
We've got every incentive to put out the best. We've got every incentive to put out the best product we can.
Yep, and even honestly, of course we want, as long as we're a step ahead of what's coming out in the mainstream, you're fine. And these days, from what I've seen, it's you're hard pressed to find a creative team that you can feel the love and passion in. I'm not even saying quality work. It's just that you could tell they wanted to be there and wanted to do something cool. And you find that in indie all the time because it's, once again, it's you live or die by it. But it shouldn't just be indie, and it's not. But it's more often than not, it seems now, and that's sad.
Yeah. It's about skin in the game, you know.
Yeah.
Reminds me of I don't know if you guys any of you got the chance to see Hamilton, but there's one of the parts of the songs he says you'll get love, so you'll get love for it, you'll get hate for it, but you'll get nothing if you just wait for it. So that yep. You know, there's always gonna be people out there trying to put hate on you, but you know, you just gotta do the best you can, right?
Pretty much. Yeah.
Exactly. What else can you do? All right, guys, I really need to get going. I'm sorry. I got to bolt out of here.
No worries. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you take care. Have a great
Always
day,
a pleasure,
man.
guys. Great talking with everybody. Have a great one.
Thanks, you too. See you next time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah, like I said,
sad to see him go.
But I love to watch him leave.
Yeah.
So we got Dan out of the way. We got myself out of the way. Who wants to go next? Canales, Matt, Cody.
I can tell you guys about the latest news on the whole thing. Yeah, you may want to see this promo pic that I made for Indicron, because we're gonna launch our comic. Well, any day soon now. At least come February, it's going to be, pretty soon. So let me check it out. Yeah, this is the one.
This is
the one. Alrighty, well.
Upload it.
I'm trying to upload it.
Give me a screen share, Canales.
I'm trying to upload it to the chat. I don't know if that works.
I don't think that option exists.
Be kind to this old boomer. I need to be taught how this new stuff works.
You need a link put into the chat. Is that what you said?
Yeah, upload pictures to the chat.
Oh, so, pictures.
He wants to show folks something. I know you could show us. It would be slightly difficult to be able to show chat.
Could he you could just do a screen share and then they'd be able to see it through the screen.
Oh wow! Actually, I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah, can you see that?
Yeah, I can see that actually. Yeah, but you got to have the chat window open. But yeah, that actually looks pretty cool.
Yeah. Damn. I think you can tell my age just by this.
And Dan told me I was too young to be a boomer. Actually,
so yeah, well, soon I will share it with the world. Don't worry, I already uploaded it to several of my social media accounts where I still haven't been banned for making 80s movies references. But yeah, we're getting ready to put this thing on Indiegogo and Indicron, and hopefully people will enjoy it.
Do you have a timetable for that?
Not yet, because Michael is sending me the script by little by little, because he's rewriting it as we go. He's adapting it to my art style, so to speak. So, but yeah, it's nearly done. It's I'd say 2/3 of the story are already completed. So a few weeks.
If you had to ballpark it, are we talking like what, a couple months?
Oh no, this will be available in January. That's for sure. I will work my ass off to make this available to the public in January.
All right then.
Now, can I screen share? Am I able to screen share?
I would try opening it. Yeah, you can. Open it first, Michael, and then go to screen, and then screen share.
Where's the button for that?
Screen share it's on the left. It's that green one.
Ah, okay.
Well, I'm glad to know I'm not the only one who has difficulty with this sort of things.
So here it is. I opened up in this program here. Can you guys see that by any chance?
You get. No,
I'm gonna say no.
Michael, you gotta tell it to screen. I'll do it.
There we go. There it is.
You got it.
Big guy punching some grays. That's what I like to see. Okay.
Yep. Alien.
How's it look on your side, guys?
Oh yeah, I can see it.
I'm going to say pretty cool.
I don't know. Click on your window, Michael, just so you keep the focus on the image.
Click on the window, you said?
Click on your window, like like out at the bottom. It's got all our windows.
Yeah, it says Wikid on it. Your Wikid profile pic. Press on that, you'll get a white border, and there you go.
Yeah, it'll keep the focus on you. It'll keep the focus on you.
I am confused. Oh God, what is happening?
Okay,
I think I'm out of here, yo. I gotta bail on this one. I'm losing. I think I'm losing my mind over here. Well, that was a very quick.
Well, I think someone had the chance to see.
I hope someone had the chance.
It's looking good, Ibai. I'm liking that big buff dude and the giant old school ray gun blowing away some old school grays. I think that's very cool.
It's very pulpy.
That's what we were going for. Actually, we had to. We wanted to take the old cliches, the old sci-fi action cliches, and go crazy with them.
Really draw them out and make them like exaggerated, maybe.
Yeah, no, I think it's more similar to a Lobo comic than an old school pulp sci-fi story. But I think it's a cross between the both of them. Kind of taking the piece of the old school of all the cliches, so to speak.
The aesthetic of the old school with the action and the new school, maybe, right?
Yeah, something like that. The idea is, we were subverting the expectations because this is a twist. As I said in the last edition, it's a case of what would happen if the aliens kidnapped, abducted the wrong motherfucker. We make the human the actual threat in the spaceship. We're turning the whole alien concept on its head.
That's gonna be fun.
And
the aliens.
Does anyone think that pulp just doesn't get enough love these days?
Yes. I think pulp has become a synonym for bad stories, and I don't agree.
Yeah, the only pulp you get these days
is of comic books is in pulp.
I mean, it's true, but the only pulp you get these days is Indiana Jones, and that doesn't come out too often,
Comics would not exist without pulp. That is a provable fact. Comics have their roots in pulp fiction.
So why do you think it is that you don't see it as much anymore these days?
I think a lot has to do with the fact, like, a lot of the old pulps, they are a bit problematic, and also quote unquote problematic, but also, I mean, like, they are kind of seen as like kind of artifacts of their time. And to be fair, you can say about any art, all art is a product of its time. I mean, like, I think one thing I see kind of criticize pulps for is, like, there's a lot of sex and violence in them. I mean, like, which I gotta say, like, has anyone actually ever read one?
There's that. That's interesting. That's kind of a weird.
I actually read a bunch of Robert E. Howard and Walter Gibson stories for Conan and the Shadow, which are probably my two favorite pulp characters. And I was surprised at how straightforward and non-pretentious both were. They just wanted to tell a story about a guy who, I don't know, wanted to kill some primeval monster and fuck some hot chick, or some dark Avenger who wanted to kill a bunch of gangsters, and that was it. It really wasn't there much more to it.
Yeah, they're usually pretty simple, straightforward stories, from what I understand.
Yeah, they are.
And that's not to their detriment. That's to their benefit usually.
Well, yeah, well, I think a lot of it came from the fact that these were, back in the day, they were printed in pulp magazines, so you kind of had to be quick and to the point.
Yeah, I think the rightful inheritor of the pulp tradition would be the John Wick movies, because they're really pulpy stories with no pretensions, no pretensions, sorry, and it's more of an exercise in style and pacing and narration. You know what I mean?
And you're going on this adventure with him, this journey.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can actually see that. It is a bit of a modern take on that genre. Oh. In that sense, you might even say, if you want to kind of extrapolate that much, you might even say James Bond or is another kind of version of that.
Yeah, no, James Bond is completely pulpy. He's like a modern acceptable version of Conan.
It's funny because he wears suits and he has a nice watch, and everyone's like, "Yeah, we buy this. It's okay now."
Well, I mean, he's not grabbing him by the hair and doing what he wants, so I guess that's better, right?
Yeah, I kind of like what Canales brought up about like how pulps are very unassuming, whereas nowadays like comic solids are like trying to have depth, quote unquote.
Yeah, I do see what you mean. A lot of comics are trying to be very heavy-handed with their messaging.
Yeah, it's just like as okay. I mean, like I know Cody, I know you are not the biggest fan. And in fact, you probably agree with this, but it's like, it seems like kind of like writers like Neil Gaiman, Frank Miller, Grant Morrison, and Alan Moore have kind of had they had an effect on the comics industry, and it's been both good and bad.
In what way do you mean?
Well, the good is that those guys were able to sort of inject a little more sophistication into comic books. The bad is that everyone is trying to copy them and doing it badly.
That is an interesting observation. That is. I mean, that's a really interesting point you bring up, because it happened with the British invasion back. When all the British comic writers started getting hired over here, and that's why, like you said, it really kind of elevated the medium. But now you do get a lot of people trying to replicate that, and it's not as easy as it seems, because a lot of those writers. I mean, I don't know. There's something about a lot of these writers who've been doing it for a long time, maybe, or just the time, like you said, the time that they lived in, perhaps. But you do see a lot of that happening, I think.
Yeah. I'll say this though. I mean, like, people need to explain the appeal of Grant Morrison. I mean, I liked All-Star Superman, but Grant Morrison comics are just I have to wonder, does this guy write on acid or shit? Because
oh, he does. Have you ever watched any of his talks? Because he also does occult talks. He's an old school chaos magician.
He's like an Alan Moore type.
I'm a relative fan of that angle more than I am of his writing, honestly.
I do love that. I love that, like, Alan Moore and some of these other guys are like occultists, at their very core.
Well, yeah.
Grant's a little bit more fun. Alan's dour, and he worships a serpent god, so he's not the friendliest guy. Alan,
everyone else in the Gaiman are that. I mean, like their fascination with the occult seems to be more academic.
Definitely, I agree with that for sure. Yeah. Which is interesting.
Grant's is implied. He talks about using it, but with Alan, it's kind of a religious thing. So I can guarantee some of his tats are some of how he practices, and if he doesn't practice divination, I'd be very surprised.
Yeah.
There's a lot of these guys. You can't really get into art without brushing up to the occult because a lot of the same principles apply. Just because the most direct with entertainment is stage magic. That's one of the best current applications of old school magic. We're working in the medium of cave drawings on walls. Very, very old magic. We're all occultists in some way, folks.
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much. But yeah, like if there's any writer who's sort of kind of if there's any comic writer I would say who comes close to being like a successor of the pulps, it's probably Garth Ennis. And like
he takes no nonsense.
Oh my god, the stuff he's doing right now about World War II, like some of the about.
Oh, did you read that first issue?
War Story? Are we talking about War Stories?
No, actually, I got. Actually, when I got, and let me go grab it here on myself. It's actually about the Tuskegee Airmen, and it was called Dreaming Eagles.
He's doing all kinds of World War II. He's also doing Sarah for TKO with Elizabeth Breitweiser. It's really good. Sarah's killer. It's a Russian sniper woman, and it's her the female experience on the Western Front during that time. It's a trip. It was really good.
Pretty amazing.
She was free.
Really?
TKO's business model is a trip. I'm really hoping it kind of works.
That's the new company that just came out. Yeah.
Yeah, they're selling Netflix style. They're selling you the whole series.
That's interesting. That's a really interesting model.
You want. In any form you want. You want a trade paperback?
Binge watch.
Trade paperback. You want the 6 issues in a really pretty collector's box? They'll sell you that. You want them just digital? They'll sell you that. It's pretty interesting. I'm hoping it works.
It's an interesting model that it's like like you said, Netflix style. Like they give you the whole series so you can binge read it if you want, or you can make it last. You have options.
Like,
on your time, not waiting week to week for your comic shop to maybe get them and then sell them before you get there. Things like that. It avoids.
Right, yeah.
So who knows? Who knows? But at least it's something different, and I was stoked to see the names like Garth Ennis attached to it. So we'll see how it goes.
A lot of good names attached to that company's names.
Yeah.
I'm hoping this isn't one of those business ventures that's counting on having big names behind it to succeed.
I mean, the quality was there in what I've read so far. That's why they put the first issues out.
Oh, yeah, I'm not saying that the comics won't be good. It's just that I've seen enough like venture capitalists try to bank on success just by having a famous person attached to their product, and it doesn't work out.
Hey guys, does it say off air for anyone else?
No, not for me.
No, it says live. Yeah.
Well, that's strange. It says off air for me.
Let me double check the.
I'm live.
Are you alive, people?
And we're hearing you, so you're good, Matt. It's just some kind of glitch on how you exited because you did drop for a minute and come back in.
That was the browser.
Yeah. Matt, before you get dropped again, why don't you just maybe you should get close into what's going on your end.
Oh, just planning on stuff with Mythics and McKinnon Chronicles. For Mythics, I plan on doing a 15-page structure for each issue, something like Punchline guys did, so that I can get the comics out faster. And there goes the YouTube. But basically, every 15 weeks, there's got to be a new issue out. But before that issue comes out, I plan on running it with a webcomic style, but use the Patreon to set up a subscriber base where you get the page first if you pay about $5 for the basically SFW pages, and then the NSFW pages would be about $10 per month, and you get them about a couple of days before they're released, so people will be able to see the pages for free and decide to back the comic if they like it. And on the McKinnon Chronicles side, we're getting we're slowly but surely getting the colors done for us to go on to lettering.
Wow. Okay, so it sounds like it's all coming together, and so you said you're going to be releasing it a page at a time, then?
Yeah, 1 page per week for fiction.
That's cool. That'll give us the option, or give you the option to kind of expand the story and make it go up for a lot longer, and that's kind of a traditional webcomic style, isn't that correct? Kind of the releasing a I think we lost Matt.
And he's gone again.
That is just to continue that. As far as I've seen, that is the classic webcomic style. Is about a page a week. I
is that what you're doing?
That as well. Yeah, that's what I've seen in Tapas. We're doing 3 pages, and this week's going to be 4 because one of them's a double spread. That'll all be up tomorrow evening. I'll have them lettered and up.
And how can we get to that? How can we go? How can we go?
Oh, there you are. There you are. Don't go off Matt too far.
Brett.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, I play point finger all the fingers at Brett.
Why is it my fault?
Oh, that's
because reason.
Yes.
Valuable, true, good reasons.
Actually, something? It's really funny how that works out because the last time I was dropped in a stream, Brett was talking about how there was a glitch in Windows 10 where Windows 10 freezes, and then my computer freezes. Brett, you've got some kind of voodoo going on, don't you?
He's a 40K player. He's got a little bit in touch with the machine spirit. That's how it goes.
I don't play 40K. Well, unless you count playing Space Marine.
I'll take that. Yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah. And
doesn't need much.
I also got Dawn of War, which I need to get around to playing that at some point.
Yes, you do.
That looks
awesome. Yes, you do, sir.
Yeah, I mean, I made my own chapter. I should be playing that game.
Yeah, see, there you go. That's like, yeah, you're set. You count.
So, welcome. I just want to say welcome to Matt for joining us. Matt B. Sulos. You might see him on Twitter. He's the other Wikid co-founder. Welcome to the chat.
Yo.
Thank you. How's it going, guys?
Pretty good.
Good.
I'm always delighted to be here.
You missed Dan Mollybeans. He was here a little bit earlier talking about Adobe Kroger.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, he did really. He was really excited about the project. He gave us a lot of good updates today, so it was good. We'll go back and watch that later.
Speaking of updates, is there anything else you guys want to know?
Yeah,
before I got dropped.
Well, we were in the middle of discussing something, were we not?
You asked him if
that
was the basic webcomic style to release one page a week, and as far as I know, it is.
And so we were kind of discussing the webcomic format and maybe going based off that. What kind of made you want to? Because your other project is going to be a straight comic. What made you want to use the webcomic format in that style?
Well, some people probably accuse me of ripping off of Cody for what he's doing with Coyote Jack, but it's actually been something I've been thinking about doing for a while, since I'm a Rooster Teeth fan, and that was the business model they went with their videos, where these videos were free for each episode of Rogers Flu was free, but because of bandwidth costs, they had to set up a system where they had to have sponsorship with their customers, where it was $5 a month for them to and you get to see the episode for free. You can watch the episode the day before.
What is that?
Yeah, what was that?
Was that a sexy alien?
Was that Cody dying?
Oh, it could have been Cody dying. Medics,
yeah,
can we get a medic in here?
Algorithm glitched out for
we need
folks.
Oh God! So
That's
remember early in the episode, I told you there's gonna be 3 differences. That was the first of the 3 differences.
yeah, it's no problem, Cody. It's no problem. I've been through the no sleep. I've been through sleep deprivation before. Some things come out when you don't feel like it. But
Yeah, go on. Sorry about that.
it's all right. Yeah, but they've also the company. As a company, they've also been open about what made up to their success, and so I've been meaning to try it with comics, see if any of their lessons can be applied to the webcomic format.
Interesting. Yeah, no, that's a good model because I know the Rooster Teeth. I used to do that as well, and it was it really worked giving that kind of content. So I do see what you mean coming from that perspective. Now we've talked a little bit about the crowdfunding, and we've talked a little bit about the story and the characters before. Maybe what can you tell us about like your inspiration for the myth, the project, the shared universe, and maybe specifically the mythics in particular?
Well, it'd probably work out better for the shared universe if we had Dan still here.
We do have Brett though. We do have Brett.
Yeah, am I not good enough?
Yeah, what the hell, man? Is Brett not good enough, man?
Well, it's all 3 of us together. It's not so much against Brett as it says a discount Dan.
We could how about Ibai could like act as Dan. He could be like our second string Dan, so to speak.
I'm a wonderful actor. I have you know that.
Oh, I believe it. Oh, look at that! See, the more you know. Look at that.
Well, we can always have Canal.
I will always play like Sicilian hitman and stuff like that. But I would do that pretty well if I might say so myself.
we could have Dan. We could have Canals play as Spanish Dan.
Exactly, Spanish. Ibai Canales is Spanish Dan in Mythics universe.
Hola, soy el Dano español.
It's perfect. I can't tell the difference hardly even.
Right, it's a perfect mix of my sexiness and Dan's sexiness.
Exactly. There's a lot. It's almost too sexy in here.
Although to be honest,
that's why I got banned from Twitter because I was too sexy.
Exactly. I think that was the official reason they gave you.
But honestly, Brett, he's one of the reasons why the shared universe is going on because he contacted me about asking for some help on this script, and then after reading it and realizing that through discussing that we have similar ideas when it comes to the urban fantasy kind of story, that it makes sense to have a shared universe.
Yeah, it was just it wasn't something that was planned. It was just kind of a happy coincidence.
Yep. It's
I think the Wikid guys should launch a phase 2 at some point and do crossovers. Maybe we can see with the with the McKinnon Chronicles and stuff like that. I think that would be a good business move.
It's interesting. Like a universe crossover, right?
It worked for Marvel and DC, so even the Dark Horse guys, even they did that in the 90s. They had X versus Predator and stuff like that.
Yeah, which led to the horrible movies.
Yeah,
well, that's beside the point.
Right. We won't have any horrible movies. Exactly.
Well, to be honest, I think that we'll all have the reason why we don't have bad movies is because we'll control our properties.
Yes, we'll hopefully have good movies. Although that doesn't always work out as well. I mean, look at the Witcher series. First the guy got screwed from Netflix. I mean, not Netflix. Sorry, the game company. And then now that they're working with Netflix, you think, oh, he's going to get the right deal, right? But apparently not. So,
the funny thing is that there was a Witcher series back in 2003.
Oh, the Polish one.
Yep. Let me tell you something. the best reaction I've ever seen him give was that when he was asked about it, he said that since it is Lent and he's a Polish Catholic, he is not allowed to utter any swear words.
Oh man, yeah, that sounds about right to me. I haven't seen it, but I can imagine. Which is weird. I mean, of course.
I gotta get going.
Okay.
Sorry if I don't want to leave you guys hanging. So
no worries, man.
No
Thanks
worries.
for joining us. We really appreciate us. Now, just to let everyone know, see, you are banned. You aren't on Twitter at the moment. Is there anywhere people can follow your adventures at this time?
Well, I'm on Gap. I've been banished to the kingdom of the fascist frog. I'm also on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
And I also have an Instagram. I'm Ibai Canales on Instagram, and I definitely need to give my Instagram more love, which I will do in the coming days. But yeah, I'm still active.
Good.
Me
Surprised
not
you don't have a
being
DeviantArt, man.
Sorry.
Surprised you don't have a DeviantArt.
I do have a DeviantArt, dude, man. I kind of forget about it because I didn't get too many job offers through it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but yeah, it's canalusdeviantart.com if in case you wanna look for it. I'm there too. I'm there too.
Cool. Well, there's places to find you then. That's awesome. And
Yeah,
we'll
let those assholes at Twitter know that I'm still active. I'm still working.
Exactly.
They didn't kill me. They didn't kill
can't
me.
exactly. They can't kill Canales.
They
Can't
can
kill
kill that who
Canales.
does not believe.
Exactly. Well, thanks again for joining us, man. It's been a pleasure, and hopefully we'll see you next time.
Sure, man. It's always a pleasure. Take care.
Talk to you
Take
later.
care.
Yeah, by the way, I just found his on his Instagram. I'm gonna link it in the chat.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know he had an Instagram, so I'm gonna go follow him on there for sure. No, I do. I can't. I have to say, I want to talk a little bit about what was I gonna say? The Cactus Coyote. We've talked a lot about Jack, but maybe it's a good time to talk a little more about Cactus Coyote. What do you think, Cody?
Yeah, I'm up for that. Well, how do you want to go about it? You guys got questions?
Well, I'm kind of interested.
What do you want to do?
Yeah, well, we talked a little bit about how it's on Patreon and what the model of how it's going to be going up. But maybe let's talk about a little bit about what people can expect and how maybe it's different from Jack Irons proper.
Oh, well, obviously, for one, presentation. It's a manga, so you read it right to left, and it's got a looser style with less detailed backgrounds, as mangas do. Honestly, we would have done a Western comic, but my artist decided that using the term manga and going with that direction would open up not only another market, but give us an excuse for the quality to be as it is. So it allows us to do what we're doing now, which is 3 pages a week. He always has the pages ready basically by Monday for me to letter, and I rarely get to them till Saturday night. but it's all set, and that's been a heck of a thing, and I think it's fun. It gave me an excuse to start buying manga and reading it more. So
that's cool.
Work on my lettering. I already realized what I was doing wrong. I was lettering it like a Western comic.
That's what I was about to say.
The bubbles, the room in my bubbles was so much smaller than it should be for a manga. Manga have giant bubble rooms when you translate them anyway. And
right,
so,
exactly.
Unless they're trying to convey something like an emotion or just giant exclamation points or whatever. Of course, that's the exception. But the rule is, usually it's a lot more space than a Western comics word bubble. I've got to adapt that now. I was doing that wrong. But it still looks good. I think it's fine for what we're asking for it. We already got 12 pages up on Patreon, and it's only $1, and you can read them all. And any that come out this month, and then it's just $1 again to be able to do it next month. So
now it's interesting you guys decided to go with right to left, because me and Matt, when we were that was actually one of the things we started to talk about when we were first working on Project R, or the manga. We ended up going left to right, actually, and so it's interesting that you guys went right to left. And did he give you? You said that was mostly his choice, or did you have some input on that as well?
It was kind of both. We decided if we're going manga, we might as well just do it, and that way we can actually open up that market. That was my real thinking is they expect something out of a manga. So if you're calling it that, and they go in it and they open it the wrong way and all that, it's a different experience. It's a Western comic doing the manga thing, which is great in its own way. But we wanted to do there you go. Left to right is not a problem. It can be manhwa or Korean manga. So there you go. So that's cool. I didn't know.
Someone in the chat said that.
Weeb fact.
Oh yeah,
Good
that's
weeb
cool.
fact. I love it. Cool. So there you go. Korean manga is read left to right. Nifty. But yeah, we went with that just so we can just run with that whole aesthetic. We're going gag manga, so it's going to look silly. The characters go off model. Works that the character's a shapeshifter, so when he goes off model, it's totally in universe. Yeah, there's a lot of. I think we're leveraging it really well. The story at the moment is kind of catching up. His troubles just kind of caught up to him on page 10 through 12, and he's getting through them, at least the first round of troubles. So we're on action scenes right now, so that really helps me for lettering because there's only one or two things to write in a page, so that's been nice. But yeah, it's.
How do you handle sound effects?
Well, he puts them in. He's also putting in the bubbles, so he doesn't have to draw under them.
Whoa.
We are really we're working we're working pretty good. I think we're doing what you'd think mangaka would do. You got to adjust to make the time frame. We're not having to produce 30 pages in a week. We're having to produce 3. So
but let me ask you,
still very Western, but it's we also don't have a team of assistants and all that fun stuff.
That's really interesting though. You mentioned that he does the bubbles because when I work with Matt, I do the lettering. I do the bubbles myself, and it seems like it would having to adjust to an already established bubble would make it more difficult or more of a challenge to make the dialogue fit.
That's why I have editorial powers.
Right. Even then, I mean, even with editorial, sometimes you're like, man, I really want all those words in there. How can I make that fit with that?
Well,
I mean, how do you
I do have the ability to add bubbles. Yeah, I can do that just fine. Yeah. Okay. I use an old version of Manga Studio, which I guess is now called Clip Studio. But yeah, I just use that, so I can add bubbles where I need for sound effects or additional lines of dialogue, or if this doesn't fit in there. But most of the time, I just rewrite and it's fine.
Nice,
honestly. Wow. But again, I just have to learn to shrink my font. I like it big so people can read it. But we're not marketing to old people, and I really have to find a way to balance font size. So that's part of what you're paying for. The small part is to see the artist's growth, but it's the story behind Cactus Coyote. I think people are gonna love if we can finish we're gonna hopefully by the time issue 2 Jack is ready to release, issue 1 of Cactus Coyote should be long finished. So yeah, by the time we have that ready, I'm hoping we'll have our groove set, and I'm hoping we'll have something people really want to read and are actually willing to put that dollar down to be able to read the continuing adventures. It really does add to Jack's world, and it adds to the feeling, because Jack's more of it's a character study. It's going to get a little bit further into more of the world and him trying to fix things, but most of it is a thought piece on this person in an extraordinary position in a very horrible world, and that's more what I'm focusing on with Jack, at least for the first arc. Second arc, it gets more action oriented, more kind of going through kind of One Piece style, beating mini bosses and beating big guys and then moving forward. But Cactus, it's a little bit more. He's right into it. It goes straight into the fire, less set up, and I think that folks kind of appreciate. Thing I've been figuring out with reading more manga is how punchy it is. I got Hellsing sent to me, Hellsing Volume 1 sent to me by accident because it had the Trigun scan label or whatever that I ordered. Anywho, it was amazing because it was so punchy and quick with how it delivered its story. And I think that'll really that comes through with Cactus. Whereas Jack, it's also kind of punchy because of how I write, is kind of short-winded and to the point. But it's different, and I think it together it's a big thing. And side note, I'm starting to get things in for Tracker as well, who's a character that's going to show up at the very tail end of issue 2 of Jack with a nice little cliffhanger. I'm hoping people will be stoked to see, because hopefully issue 3 he'll have his own little ash can in the back. But
I have a theory about Tracker. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah,
I got a fan theory going, you might say.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he's got a fan thing. Well, that's good. I'm glad it's interesting enough for that. We're trying to build a world that's interesting enough for that. There should be a really good long running fan theory with Jack that I foresee coming. I hope as the series goes on, that we will not answer till it ends. And I'm really I have the answer set and I'm ready to but I don't know when it's going to end. If we just get the one arc, I'll have to put it through at the end of this first arc. If we're lucky to get the 5, I need to get them off Earth, and then it's done. Then I'll do it then. And if we get him off Earth and he can stay off Earth, then who knows when it'll end. My goal is once again, go One Piece. Just a huge long story that's really impossible to get into. That's what I want to do.
Are you sure you don't want to do the 40K novels type? Because if you want to talk about long,
are we talking about all the 40K novels or just the Horus Heresy ones?
Let's not get on the 40K track again. I think we did that last week, and then we were off on the races for like an hour or something.
But no, it's true. That's another massive world that I am trying to imitate, is the 40K world. Not per se imitate, homage, evolve and mix into a. I mean, there's very little Western cowboy Western influence in 40K.
You can probably get something like that with the Rogue Traders.
Yeah, you're right. That's pretty close, but it's still more British aristocracy than anything else, and German aristocracy. But nonetheless, I hope people enjoy it. I'm hoping our price tag is right. I'm hoping the 3 pages a week is right. But so far, it's been an interesting journey. With Jack, I was able to steam things with the campaign kind of angle helps steam things. Helps get people involved. And so far, people aren't too involved with Cactus, which I think is to people's detriment more than it is to ours even, because I think we're offering some real nice. But nonetheless, it's a different angle. Jack's art also is of a different caliber. It's a night and day, and so I'm glad I'm able to learn from both ways of trying to market this thing and trying to figure out how to build this. And that's kind of what Ironverse Comics is about. It's trying to build a universe with a lot of different creators and a lot of different characters, and the ability to pass them on like Marvel did, but hopefully with a little bit more of that first 30 or 40 years of high respect that the creators had for the characters. But who knows? Think big, prepare for the worst, and keep moving forward. That's all you can do.
It's like my motto: life is a contest, so play to win big.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, actually, I was gonna say, like, Danku had put something in the chat that I thought was really cool. It said, "The sillier the anime style is, the more fun and accepted it will be."
I hope so. It's pretty silly. I like Cactus Coyote, and it's very One Piece in its character designs, which is what I wanted. I wanted aliens to look like anything in the Irons verse. Anything could be anything. It's supposed to be, it's supposed to be kind of sci-fi. We want a talking volcano monster. We can have that. It's supposed to be like the Green Lanterns. They have all kinds of things. I love that version of sci-fi where it's just let your imagination run free. I love
Futurama does that kind of, don't they?
Yeah.
I would also think like
Space Dandy is amazing, Danku. I couldn't let that go by. Everybody should watch Space Dandy. I love it.
Really?
I want to say Rick and Morty, but I know Cody hates it.
I don't hate it. I hate the nihilistic overtones, the comedy, writing, style. That's all good. It's just it wears on me. I got enough of that just naturally.
No, I will say about Space Dandy, because I haven't watched it, but I've heard a lot about it, and so from what I understand, each episode is kind of very different. Like they don't really share continuity from episode to episode.
They don't till the last episode. The last episode is freaking awesome for how they tie everything together. It's very much that guy's style. The guy who's behind Cowboy Bebop and Samurai Champloo. It's he likes his episodes, and then he likes to tie the bow at the end. And he's really good at it.
Yeah, Shinichiro Watanabe. That guy is. Oh man, that guy's god tier. Yeah, I mean, like, I think like Samurai Champloo was about as close as he ever came to actually having a continuity. And a lot of people will say like Samurai Champloo's like main plot is like feels very uninvolved, but I always kind of think like it's the Samurai Champloo is not about the destination, it's about the journey. It's where they're going is less important than how they get there.
Pretty much.
And really the environment that they built around this hip hop old school Japanese vibe. It was just awesome. I love that series too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of that show, and of course, Cowboy Bebop is a classic.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh come on, man! If you have you cannot be an anime fan without having seen Cowboy Bebop at least once. It's like one of those you have to see.
It's not like it's on Adult Swim. It's been on Adult Swim for the past 20 years.
Same with Akira. You have to see that once.
Very true.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that my parents let me watch Akira when I was a kid.
How old were you when you saw Akira, Matt?
6, 7.
Oh my god! I saw it 2 years ago for the first time.
Akira at 6 years old. That's gotta be trauma. That's gotta be traumatic.
Shit.
I'm mind blowing.
That's like Matt. Matt, we always talk about it because like I was always so sheltered, so I didn't see any of that kind of stuff till later. But he was watching like Berserk at like 9 or 10 years old or something. Like I can't even remember what how old he was. But he's like just hella young watching Berserk and all these other shows, Gantz and stuff.
Well, Berserk and Gantz came later on, but if we want to go with like old school with what I've watched, it's you could say like the old school Ghost in the Shell. You could say Macross Plus, not even just that one, just like a lot of the Macross Plus, like Macross series. There's been things like Fifth of the North Star, Akira, like.
And how old were you when you were watching these things? You know,
like 9, 10 when I first discovered anime, and
like
when I first really discovered anime, it was probably about 7, 8 o'clock. 7, 8. I was about to say o'clock, but 7 or 8. So like Dragon Ball Z, Pokemon, the normal ones here in the West.
Right. Yeah. The ones most of us.
Once when cable came in and we had like tons more channels, and I don't even know if it's still around, but there was a channel called Encore, and they played a lot of the old school Japanese ones that have really good localizations even during those days. And it was like some of that just, I kind of watched that and then I just went, fuck comics, I'm going to start
reading. You know, the funny thing is I think the one movie I saw that had more of a negative effect on me than Akira was actually a Rumiko Takahashi film that was, or at least one that she worked on, Guyver Out of Control, which featured a pretty graphic tentacle scene.
I think I know which one you're talking about. Just like with Paranoia Blue or something like that, where this Japanese idol is getting stalked and it keeps escalating even worse. And Perfect Blue, that's what it is.
Actually, no.
Like that one, fucking holy shit. That's one of the ones that I watched when I was a kid, and I was like, wow. I have no idea what I just watched.
Mind blowing.
That's hella funny.
That's kind of what I really loved about anime, and I wanted to bring that to the West, is that, and Castlevania has been kind of doing this, is that you don't need to rely on the newest technologies or some of the best characters. All you need is just a great story and great sequences to connect them all together. And then that's partly why people loved Cowboy Bebop, even though it doesn't really have more of a canonical storyline. It's more episodic and ties in the end, like they were saying.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things that people brought or really loved about it, that it brought, is that
that's because
it would have these weird things going on that connect later on.
That's because Shinichiro Watanabe, he loves Western culture. Like, Cowboy Bebop has its roots in American pop culture.
Well, yeah, that's why a lot of the Cowboy Bebop characters are based off of that style, you could say.
Well, not just that, the music too, like the aesthetic. It's just like it is very Western.
Yeah, that's Yoko Ono is actually known for doing a lot of Western style music and recreating it for the Japanese audience.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. It's just like, but yeah, it's like, yeah, that's kind of what made Cowboy Bebop such a splash, was just that it was because it was so deeply entrenched in Western culture. I think that it made it very accessible to a Western audience.
That was the right time also, and it wasn't Western culture at that point had started integrating a lot of Eastern themes. Bruce Lee had already come and gone. He's a huge influence in the martial arts aspect of Cowboy Bebop. Spike is literally known as a Jeet Kune Do master, and that's Bruce Lee's art.
Well, even the first episode, they have him show off those skills.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was becoming more world culture, and they were willing to market it to the world at that point. And it's funny because Japan, they wanted to be isolationist until America showed up and said, we will blow this city to hell unless you open up trade. So it's been a hell of a thing. And to go back to Samurai Champloo, they have a wonderful episode parodying that where they play baseball against the guy who showed up and everybody dies. And it is an awesome episode.
Well, you got to keep more to historical reference.
Now, hey, there's another anime that kind of, I feel like, deserves to be in this kind of talk. I'm blanking on the name. Maybe any of you have seen it. It's about this guy. He's in another country, and he's kind of timid. But then he gets involved with this crazy chick, and she's on they're on a boat, and she's like a mercenary or something.
Black
maybe.
Lagoon?
Yes, Black Lagoon. Yeah. I feel like that's another one that had a lot of impact, kind of like similar to Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah, Black Lagoon's definitely got a Western vibe to it too, and a lot of it coming from like more crime fiction and fiction and though.
Mm-hmm. True. Yeah. But yeah, I love anime, and so that's me and Matt have always been inspired about that, and try and bring that into our storytelling. I think.
Well, come on. Tell me that wasn't why you guys picked up Changeling, just because it had a manga.
That was part of it.
Well, it was part of it, yeah. But we love you, Brett. But no, I mean, we love having. I mean, we're actually, the manga at Wikid Publishing. There's quite a good selection right now.
Yeah, but. Yeah, something I actually want to touch on. Like, this was a conversation I had with Matt and our mutual friend Tank from South Africa. Because it seems like every other day I'm getting a new fan art for Maeve, and I think Matt told me that I made a character people just want to draw. It's like that's like a tension I'm not used to having, and so I'm just sitting there asking myself, okay, like, why would people like drawing this?
Because she's cute.
She's cute, but she's also iconic.
Some of them probably already feel a connection with it, and I mean,
but that's not. I think it's also that it's iconic. Yeah. It's not just cute. It's iconic.
Yes, it's very unique. You can say, because I mean, personally, I don't think I've seen a character like me.
Right.
So, yeah, that's in my opinion, that's perfect. You want something nobody's really.
The thing is, the thing that kind of pulls me away is that people have that kind of love for her, because not even Regina was able to get this kind of attention. And this is the internet. This is supposed to be where wholesomeness loses to lewdness.
Oh, I see
Well,
what you mean.
if you consider the past few years with the internet, people are probably getting a little tired of lewdness. So they're
Well, I
probably
don't
like,
know.
I'll accept
I
something
mean,
a little bit more wholesome.
but you look at rags and stuff, and man, the lewds are out the wazoo, man.
That is true. You know, I mean, you can't say it's more of a scale than anything, but from what I've seen, a lot of people would rather latch on more to the wholesomeness because there's so much of the lewdness going on. I mean, look at Jack Irons. There isn't really any lewdness in it, but yet people
There's a
latched on
butt
to
crack
it
in my
very
profile
much.
picture.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Except for
Recurring
no, there's also that one pic Cody has of Jack in stockings.
Yeah, but I mean that's
Yeah, that's a little bit more
that's
different.
boudoir pictures. You know?
But see, what I'm saying is that he didn't come out with the lewdness; someone else did.
But
Somebody
But no,
else
but
had to put that lewdness
but
in
even
there.
rags, even though rags, of course, has a bit of a lewd aspect to it originally, but a lot of it is people coming back with others. You know, isn't it? Am I wrong on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to take anything from rags. I mean, I love that.
Oh no, for sure. I just think it's cool that yours is different. You know, it's you're like you said, it's not that. You know.
I think the audience for a teen a teen character piece. I don't know exactly how I want to qualify it. I guess a supernatural piece. Yeah, young adult supernatural piece is more likely to be active in the support of what they see by creating art and stuff than the lewd community would be.
True.
Rags has a very vocal fan base, and so if you count that as well, it's a different story. But for the lewds, yeah, people just say they're hot. I mean, that's as far as they're gonna go.
Yeah. That's all the brain sees. It's just oh, that's hot. Where with Maeve, it's more of like, oh, I wonder how she got the powers.
Yeah, that's why.
Why are the eyes red?
Regina,
why is the hair white?
Tests better for fan art when she's in her onesie.
Really?
Yeah, people love that onesie. I adore that onesie.
And I've
seen that when
very
people latch
unique
onto her
for that kind of style
and stuff. Yeah, exactly. So it's just a different market and a different group. That's all. You can't really compare lewds. It's like comparing Playboy to some other publisher like
Sports Magazine.
Or Times. Right.
Yeah.
The Times article versus a Playboy, right?
Yeah, it's just different. It's different. The groups are going to be different, but they might.
You got to know your readership.
Do overlap. Yeah, that's all.
Right.
And I'm glad. I've been ecstatic to see how active Maeve's fan community is. That's just awesome.
Right.
I love it.
Yeah, there's been a lot of fan art coming in, which it's been pretty cool. I think. Now, have you got much fan art from some of the other characters besides Maeve?
Not really, because not really, just because I haven't really pushed them that heavy. Like Maeve has been doing most of the heavy lifting, which it makes sense. She's the main character. Character, but it's worked out. I mean, I've actually gone back. I've got a whole fan art gallery in my disc for changing, which you can get in for as little as $1 a month, people.
Go on to Patreon. Right? Yeah, Patreon people.
But I actually I counted it all, and I think in total it's got to be like over 2 dozen. I think.
Nice, man.
Which is
very nice.
Very cool.
And a lot of them, like I said, was not stuff I solicited, not stuff I paid for. A lot of it was stuff fans gave in. In fact, my current profile pic, that's fan art.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I love the Christmas feel of the fan art too. It's so festive.
Yeah, some guy was saying he'd Christmas profile pics, and I did mine on Twitter. It's got a.
You have a Jack Irons?
I have a Jack Irons kind of Christmassy, but it's just it's just the comic cover with a Santa hat over his hat and like a wreath around his neck.
Oh, that's
but
funny.
Was it the guy who on Twitter said if you retweet this, I'll make a cheesy Christmas profile picture for you? I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, dude,
that's pretty good. That's a smart idea, man. Get yourself a lot of attention that way.
It's up on your profile, you said?
Oh, it is the profile pic for me on Twitter.
Oh, you're right. Oh, that's awesome, man.
Hey, we all got to get
Yeah,
a
it's
little
silly.
festive in our own way.
I love it. Jack Iron, yeah, even Jack Irons needs to get his Christmas on, man. What do you think is? I think that it's got to be eggnog in there, right? Some
Well,
alcoholic eggnog, you
I
know?
guess it could be in context of this picture. Realistically, it's all the same goop. He's
Ah,
smoking basically the same goop.
what's he smoking?
So,
Synthetic frog
it's all
skins?
prot. It's all just
Prot. What's prot?
recombined organic matter. It was a machine that saved
Like
humanity that some
skin?
kid made. You'll
Like
find out in issue 2.
oh fuck.
But
They call it soylent goop.
it's basically just a way. It's what they call this stuff that comes out of this machine
Wait, they
that you
eat
can
it
throw
too?
any organic matter. Yeah, and it can be turned into anything. So you want it to look like a steak, it'll look like a steak. You can
I don't
maybe
want
even
to.
make it almost taste like a steak.
I was gonna
but
say
it
I'd
won't be
rather
a
it
steak.
taste like a steak than look like a steak.
Yeah, it'll mostly. I mean, it's
Poor
pretty
Jack.
funny. It's
He
the
has
only
a
real
really
food.
bad diet.
He doesn't have
Well,
to eat.
well, he doesn't
It's
have to,
just
but
would.
that's just sad because now he can't even get pleasure from eating. So like he doesn't have to, but
Yep.
now there's no point even really.
Yeah, and same with smoking, drinking.
Really?
He can't get drunk. He's never been able to really get
Can he
drunk. He's
not
very
get
kind of
like so he
catameric.
doesn't he can't get drunk? Oh my
No, his
god.
brain cells, man, they just reappear
Ah,
right away. He can't get drunk. He can't be
God.
poisoned, and that's what
This
alcohol is poison.
is so disappointing.
By definition.
I feel so
And
depressed
same
for
with the
Jack.
smoking. That's why he's a chain smoker
He
and chain
probably just
drinker,
does
just
it out
because
of
it's
habit.
something to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just yeah. That's basically what it is. It's just that
Jeez,
habit.
dude.
Gives him an excuse to socialize, an excuse to ramble.
Right. Right.
But yeah,
Pretty
it's
wild,
not
dude.
the Jack Irons universe is making a man who can't die live through what could equate to a hell.
Wow.
So that's kind of what it is. And he's gonna break that hell, and he's gonna go out to the stars and try and break that hell too. Hopefully.
Hopefully we'll see him smile one day.
I think he smiles in issue 1.
Does he
he's
really?
satisfied making fun of that droid before he shoots him. He's got this
That's
smirk
great.
in one panel. It's a smirk,
Okay, nice,
but I
nice.
guess that counts. It's a smirk.
Pretty satisfied look on his face.
Yeah.
That's funny though. Wow, that's a pretty interesting concept. You know, it really adds to Jack's tragic
Issue
character.
2 finishes the world building. So issue 1 I made self-contained because I didn't know what was going to happen with it, but I did write them all at the same time, all of the first five issues, and so the second one builds up everything else you need for the universe, including Cactus Coyotes, basically. In fact, one of the 4 main villains has already been introduced in Cactus Coyote. So if you folks are interested in Jack Irons' actual villains and such before issue 2 comes out, that's where you find out kind of how the world and universe works. It's a very micro to macro concept. The villains work on a planetary scale and a universal scale and a galactic scale, a bunch of different scales.
So would you say this is a bit of a prequel to Jack Irons, or maybe like a spin-off, or what's the best?
Coyote's about 20 years in the future, something like that. It's Jack's in space and well known during Cactus Coyote.
Whoa.
They know who he is. He's already done what he needed on Earth. So Cactus Coyote's a good bit in the future, establishing what's already happened.
I think that's exclusive right here that we just dropped. Jack Irons is famous in space.
Eventually,
like,
just because
he's references as to some of Jack's exploits that it's throughout it.
Yeah, but what? So he's gonna liberate Earth from these 4 villains, but these 4 villains are cosmic manifestations of horrors. I once again don't want to go too far into what they are. It's pretty predictable. People should be able to tell, and I'm pretty sure I spoil it different places, but until people engage me about it, I'm going to act like they don't see it. So for now, but that's what they are, and so you can beat them. They manifest on a planetary scale, but once they've done what they need on that planet, they have a bigger scale to work with, and that's basically the difference between Cactus Coyote and Jack Irons at the moment. Jack Irons, we're dealing with these villains on the planetary scale, what they did to Earth. With Cactus Coyote, you're dealing with the status quo that has been established for millennia between the what were once good guys, the government, and these villains. The stalemate that's been maintained in this long pain in the ass, drawn out farce, basically, of peace and of winning and such. And Earth is one of those farces. These reservations, like New Deadwood, they're one of the farces. There's something for this government to point at and say, see, we're winning, we're doing good, we saved this species. No, he just showed up and declared this place safe because it would look good. There's a lot to it, and I'm really hoping people get on board. That's all.
Yeah, no, it sounds really cool. I love that it takes place after Jack Iron. So to read them at the same time, you think that would be the best reading experience? Read them concurrently.
I mean, that's how Marvel and such does it, but they're pretty standalone. Cactus Coyote's journey is his journey. It's not Jack's journey. Jack just had affected the universe around him, just like these villains affect the universe around Cactus. So it's his story, so you can just read that. Jack, it's his story, so you can just read that and you'll be fine. Jack's story is more tightly linked with Tracker. Issue 2 and 3, issue 2, the end of it shows him. Issue 3 goes into him. That's where we establish who he is, what he's going to do and such. And his arc also is going to be epic once we get him into space.
Oh God, Tracker in space?
There's 3 characters that end up in space. Golden Monk shows up in issue 2 of Cactus Coyote, I believe, in space. So we're setting our world up really well, I think. And I have no idea how far we'll get, but as long as we're producing it, we're getting somewhere. So I'm happy.
You heard it, folks. Let's get Jack to space. That's the ultimate goal right now. Let's get Jack.
And let's take a while. Let's do a long, slow drag getting them to space because there's a lot of great stories to tell during that.
Let's do that.
Arc 1, Tracker's arc. He's established. We get his. Hope maybe he'll have a series. Maybe he won't. Second arc, we establish in the first arc. The North American, Canada kind of territory of one of the villains. Second arc would be the next villain, who is Eurasia and Africa. Third arc would be the third villain, who is Antarctica and Australia. And fourth arc really depends on whether we get to space or and it's time to end it and give it a good ending. So we'll see.
That's interesting. It sounds like maybe these villains, perhaps maybe they divvied up the world and are is that too much into that?
You would equate it to how we really did it in real life, where we came up with nation states and governments. Eventually tribes form and build up their walls. And these 4 villains don't have the same goal. They're all different manifestations. And they just want to bring the epitome of that manifestation as the single core of all of existence. So they don't like each other so much. They work together at certain points to get certain concurrent goals worked out and finished. But most of the time they're fighting for space with each other. And so when we get to Jack's Earth, where we are now basically in issue 1, that world's already been divvied and they're at a stalemate because of the galactic government showing up and cutting those 4 off from any other manifestation of them around the galaxy. So they're isolated and they're stuck with what they have on Earth to fight each other. So they've kind of just hit a stalemate between trying to travel oceans and such in a world they completely destroyed and have turned into different versions of parodies of what life used to be.
Parodies, you say?
I have to explain who they are to explain it further, and I'm really hoping issue 2 is the best. The panel that introduces them, because you'll get it right away. It's not. I chose very obvious names and concepts for these villains. It's not something that's really well hidden, but until people find it and bring it up to me, I'm not gonna do it.
Right? No, that's. I think that's smart. It's gonna be more natural. It's gonna be more fun for the reader to discover on their own, I think.
Now, how about that other one? How about that other one that's like basically Turok in Fallout meets Monster Hunter?
Yeah, that's Tracker. You'll see him at the end of issue 2.
Yeah, I forgot his name. Yeah, Tracker. Like, yeah, that's like.
Yeah.
That's the one I have the fan theory about.
That's a good way of putting it. It's Turok in Fallout. in a world that is basically Fallout meets Monster Hunter.
Yep, that's exactly what it is. And then we're going to bring that into space with a slight spoiler only for this, and I'm only going to say it once. He's going to build a giant mech suit and kill giant things in space if we can get him to space.
That sounds amazing.
Gundam too.
Yeah, it's going to be a native Gundam made out of random radiated monster parts and tech, killing planet-sized creatures in space. I really want to see this.
I do too.
but that's only if we can get him there, and his story follows Jack, so we got to get Jack there.
Now I have to ask.
Jack, we're good.
Now this is my fan theory. Is it possible by any chance that we may have seen Trekker already?
Oh, I see what your theory is. I don't want to ruin that theory.
Okay.
I'm going to say yes or no. I haven't defined it. Honestly, I could have it go that way. I don't believe I did. He hasn't been introduced yet so far.
Okay.
But something exceedingly key to the whole goddamn story was introduced in issue 1, and nobody's really implied it. And we heavily implied it in both dialogue and art, particularly the coloration alongside the art. What happened? Part of Jack's origin, really key in issue 1, and nobody's brought it up. And I'm really hoping as things continue, people will be like, oh, that's what happened. Because I'm trying to give Jack that Wolverine air where you don't really know his exact origins, but you get who he is and what he's dealing with.
Up until Marvel decided to say screw it and give us the origin story.
Yeah, and the origin was all right. I like that. I read it.
That's probably after they made quite a few changes to him, though.
Yeah, I'm not dissing. Like it's a good story. It's a good story. Yeah, it's just like.
But I'm just
saying, there's definitely a case to be made that Wolverine was better when you didn't know that much about him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Jack's going to ride that for a couple issues. You still don't really know much because what Jack is or is supposed to be is a composite of so many different lifetimes, so many different actions filtered through a single lifetime. So there's going to be what he could have been had he not been weighted with all these memories. That's there. That person's still there. But so are thousands of others. And trying to convey that is still something I'm going to get through. I want to do it through like traumatic moments, and then you flash to something very similar happening in a completely different life, or he needs some kind of trouble and he remembers how to do something way back when, and you see a little image. That's how I'm going to try and convey that. But
yeah, I don't want to fall into 40K territory again, but this kind of sounds like an aspect of the Emperor that's never been explored, because if anyone knows, the Emperor is supposed to be a composite of like 1,000 shamans that committed ritual suicide.
Yep, just so that they could fight the Chaos Gods. It's very, once again, 40K, huge influence. You'll see my 4 main villains could be equated to the Chaos Gods, not in who they are or their characters, but in how they function in the universe.
I always thought, you know what, now that I think about it, it kind of, because I initially drew comparisons to the 4 Horsemen, but then again, that's probably not that far off, to be honest. Like, I mean, like 4 Chaos Gods, I mean, like you got war, famine,
sickness.
When you look at a lot of mythology,
Chaos Gods really that far are removed from the Horsemen?
Not so much. Not so much at all. And that's basically what I latched onto, and folks will see. I'm really hoping. Because I thought they did it really well. These are beings that literally affect everything in their universe, but are still able to be fought. And I find that really that's fighting omnipotence. I find that extremely cool.
Actually, that's kind of the thing I find what's very interesting about the warp, and was something that I kind of ganked off of for the Mythoverse, was that the warp is sort of, it's affected by the collective unconsciousness of all soul-bearing species, and at the same time it feeds back. It's like, and it's like, this is kind of where I drew up. This is kind of why I kind of described the Mythoverse as Jungian, because it's all power. Like the collective unconscious fuels the supernatural in the Mythoverse, but in turn, it's also capable of affecting the real world, that the human realm as well. It's like it's kind of this symbiotic relationship they have. You can't they sort of have to. I mean, like, one thing I've sort of seen kind of implied with, or at least sort of debated, is that if the Emperor's mission is to destroy the Chaos Gods, but there's debate. I've seen people debate that would be a bad thing because the Chaos Gods, even though they embody like a whole lot of negative traits, they kind of embody all emotions. It's good and bad.
That was part of it. There was I forgot what, but they were positive gods that were tainted as one of the stories. There's a lot of that. Main point was the Emperor just wanted to erase that kind of ritualistic. Basically, what happened in real life with the old pagan gods. We wanted to replace them with new foundations of belief and of observable fact.
Yeah,
and,
well, the problem
that's
was
what the Emperor did pretty well, but then he died.
Yeah, the problem was the Emperor forgot that the Chaos Gods, they're empowered just by emotion alone. Like I said, it's like, as long as people are still killing each other, Khorne's still gonna have power.
Yeah, the point was to limit it. But anywho, the part with Jack is very similar. It's a very similar thing. My goal was once I have this lined up for, once again, just different macros, different levels. And even after space, I have a multiversal one where I would love to go into other universes and beat those same guys. But I think it's a great dynamic to have. It's a very old school dynamic. It's a very old Grecian fairy tale, old myth. It's a myth style of near gods, or even you can call them gods, opposing man. That's a very old dynamic I've always enjoyed, and that's 40K does it, and I'm doing it. Mythoverse, it seems like there's at least one force, you can call it whatever you like, that's very important and similar, but it doesn't seem like it's malice. So that's good.
That's kind of a deep-rooted theme in a lot of ways, the idea of the one rebelling against their creator, you know?
Basically, it doesn't have to be creator, but an
creator or master or ruler.
It goes back as far as it goes all the way back to let me think. It goes back to Zeus and the Olympians of rebelling against the Titans, Lucifer rebelling against God.
It goes further than that. You can look even at Gilgamesh, the story of Gilgamesh. He does kind of what Jack Irons does, where he travels around and has all these great adventures, looking for immortality so that this way he can bring back his best friend. But over time, it turned into more of, you could say, just learning about the world and more of what they understood of it. And that's what epics usually are. They're basically starting off with one thing that just happened to escalate into this whole other turn of events that all started from your one little question, pretty much, or your one little event. But the end of the story is that you're going through a journey that's a process. And at the end of it, not only are you completely different, you're wiser and better for it in the end.
Yeah, no, and those kind of stories, sadly, are far underrepresented these days. I was told one of my earliest reviews on Jack is that it was, the guy called it, it's a philosophical book in a non-philosophically inclined time. I think he used the word philosophically drowned or philosophically barren. Maybe he used the word barren. I think that's right. Time. And so it might not do so well. And I saw that too. And I was like, well, that also means that there's a thirst and there's an underserved market. Now, whether or not they show up, that's a different story. But the point is again, the point of an epic, and usually by putting against this huge, undefeatable force, is to show humanity a way to cope with what that force is representing in real life. It gives you a feeling of power against something that most of the time you're powerless against. And that's a lot of what Jack's about for me. And I think that's a lot about what superhero books are about, just overall.
Or even zombie stories, like Walking Dead.
Yeah.
not only that, in a way, it's funny because in a way, all of us have that inside of each of our stories in one way or another.
Yeah.
I mean, with Maeve, it's learning becomes she's a fae, and kind of what's going on with that, what happens afterwards.
Well, not
With
just that.
McKenna Chronicles, it's more about the adventures and the learning of space and how Mackenzie is dealing with all of this and trying to better herself in the ever-changing situations.
Yeah.
Jack Irons, we see Jack's lives basically,
Yep.
and what happens, and then Decimators, the world's turned to shit. Now what? You know, in a way, it's like how can we fix it? Can we even fix this? And then Project R, it's a changing of history in a sense. What would happen if certain things had happened differently? And what happens beyond that? So, I mean, all of us, in a way, are exploring different, you could say questions, but at the same time, we're also exploring different situations.
Yeah, let me put it this
Yeah,
way.
absolutely.
Like, in my case, like, well, in my case, if my characters act like they're making everything a big deal, well, that's because when you're a teenager, everything is a big deal. You know, just because, like, that's just like a time in your life when you're like your body's going through all these changes and you're feeling things you didn't used to, and you don't really have any frame of reference for how you're supposed to deal with this, except what older people are telling you, and you're also starting to notice that the world is not exactly fair. It's not like how it was when you were a kid, and the adults in your life are not always right. Right, and you're starting to ask questions. It's just like I said, like everything is a big deal when you're that age.
Yep. Yeah. No, I get that. Jack spawned out of that time in my life. It was me trying to figure out how to move on from childhood. Here I am making comic books, so you can argue it was very unsuccessful.
Nah, man, don't say that.
Well, I would figure that's probably where a lot of us started that change, you know? A lot
Yeah.
of us are probably deciding what we want to do. I mean, I myself, I always wanted to do animation kind of thing, and then I started looking at it, and I'm like, if I'm going to do that, I might as well learn the basics and start doing comics and mangas. And here I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just another thing I just want to add, Cody, when you said that review said that Jack Irons was a philosophically inclined book in a philosophically barren time. It almost sounds like it sounds like the worst thing that you possibly could say about Jack at this point is that it's ahead of its time.
I would hope so. or it's quite a bit late to the party. In the 80s, it might have been a fucking sure hit. But nonetheless, I hope so. I mean, that's nice. It's a nice thought. But it's used as a comfort blanket more than it is as a anything else. It's like, oh, well, it's not doing well. Well, shoot.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, give it some.
Well,
Who knows? Like,
so
give it.
I'm hoping it's on time.
And you might actually get the recognition. You might actually start getting the recognition it deserves, dude.
Well, I certainly hope so, and I think it's already getting. I don't want to say more than it deserves because I don't want to undersell anything, but I've been blown away by the amount I've already received. So I mean that's enough. But my hope is that the whole Irons verse really is dealing with those kind of themes. Even Cactus Coyote, it's about gambling, and he has a tragic backstory that'll be revealed. It's awful. I mean, I make light of it by calling him he was an ex-garbage disposal, and imagine being a living garbage disposal.
Fuck. I guess I haven't really thought about that that much.
And if you knew under what villain he was turned into that, you could imagine what he was disposing of. It's a heck of a thing, and it's a funny book. He's lighthearted. He got his image from a beer ad. After he escaped, he saw a beer ad, and there was that, and then he saw a cactus down, and he just did that just to look different. It's a really fun book, and it deserves, story wise and even art-wise in its own way to stand next to Jack. And I'm proud to be pushing it, even if it's a much steeper hill to push up than Jack has been so far. But then again, I've been at Jack for a very long time. Cactus, it's only been a few months, so I'm gonna be light, light on everything. But,
you'll get there.
But the goal. I'm a thought piece writer. I like exploring a singular idea in a very large way, and that's Jack. And if that's philosophical, great. If it's not, because I skew it more towards action later, then it's not. But the main goal and the heart of it is there in issue 1, and it should continue forever. And as long as people are actually thirsty for that kind of thinking and the way we present it, then I should be okay.
Hey, quick question. This is just something I want to get out of the way before I get a knockoff to get ready for work. With the holidays coming up, does Wikid have anything planned for Christmas, like a sale or anything?
Me and Matt have a few things planned that we'll be announcing either today or tomorrow, I think, on Twitter. So everyone can look out for that. But yes, we do plan to do a little bit of something for Christmas. Yeah. Little something.
The next time we'll have a podcast will be the Saturday between Christmas and New Year's Day.
He's right.
Is that gonna be people gonna be available? Are people gonna be available for that? You think?
Well, it's the 29th, Michael.
I think we should. We all should, but
I'll be fine. I have to work Christmas and Christmas Eve, but yeah, I'll be there on the 29th.
I can definitely say at my job, Christmas is about the only day where I'm guaranteed off.
Whoa.
They work a bone every other day of the year, but not Christmas.
Hey, kid, you earned it. Go take your Christmas, kid.
If only other jobs were like that.
Poor Cody.
I worked warehouse jobs where they gave you every federal holiday off.
That's nice.
Yeah, there are jobs like that. Like a lot of school jobs are that way. A lot of government jobs have to be that way. There's a few warehouses and a few mom and pop shops that kind of do that. I used to work at one that did that. They did every holiday off, and I guess if they did good, they would have given holiday bonuses as well.
Yeah, that's a holiday bonus, man. I could use one of those.
Yeah, same here. Same here. Too bad I'm a contracted worker.
It's like more money.
I know. That's the joke. I don't get it.
That's a sad one.
We don't get holiday bonuses.
Do you get Jack? I called Cody.
Fine. Used to it.
I know it's funny how sometimes I slip into calling you Jack.
Although we do get a bonus every quarter.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I have no idea. You were going to ask me. I have no idea if I get a bonus. I'm kind of assuming so. But yeah, I haven't worked here long enough, so I don't know yet.
Don't know for sure.
Are bonuses the thing at your job, Matt?
There used to be a bonus based on performance, which was basically $100 quarterly, but they got rid of that for this whole credit system where if you did a good job, they gave you $5 worth of credit to put to gift cards.
That's retarded. Wow, that's dumb.
It sounds really stupid, but at least the government doesn't tax you on that.
Oh, that's true.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
And Christmas Day, we're supposed to get time and a half.
Oh, nice.
That's nice. Could be worse.
Yeah, but it's too boring to be worth it.
Are you okay with me name dropping it, Matt?
For now, let's just keep it.
Let me just put it this way. Who's going to show up to your job on Christmas Day?
The lonely, the people who don't celebrate Christmas, and the co-workers that are assholes who think it's funny to come in on Christmas.
Oh, so you work at Golden Corral. Okay, cool.
He works at a too, man. We'll say that.
I'm just gonna say that anyone who does that, I just reply with, "Why aren't you with your family? Nobody wants you."
that they go for Christmas. You
Hey,
know?
I have an excuse. My family's all out of state.
Well, I'm not talking about you, am I?
I hope not. Well, we'll see this come Christmas. We'll find out, I guess, won't we?
Well,
Yeah, pretty much.
I think Matt talking about possibly doing a Christmas stream with Troy, although I'm not sure if that was a joke or not.
That'd be fun. Mr. Marvel.
Yeah.
I always have to say it like that, like I'm like some old-timey businessman.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm pretty certain I'm probably gonna be free on Christmas Day. So, if you want to do streams on that day,
I'll see.
But yeah.
Because like at this point, I have no idea if I'm doing anything for Christmas.
Let's see. But yeah,
Other than
29
celebrating the fact that Maeve gets her Twitter back. Okay, the reason why was because I was a dumbass and did the math wrong for her birthday.
You should have asked me. I'm Asian.
Let's just say Twitter thinks she's 13 years old.
that's not good.
Look, I was not good at math. Okay, that's
I'm
one.
Asian. I could check your math.
That's another aspect of me that ended up in Maeve. She is terrible at math.
Maybe does she have to go to math class?
She has a geometry class, yes, but she just like it's just more like she spends like 2 hours looking at her textbook and trying to beg it to make sense.
Well, all the fate powers in the world, and I can't figure out this math. What the heck?
So that doesn't work like that.
It's just funny because like to think about that, like it is kind of an interesting idea. Like someone who has superpowers, but then they struggle in school. It's like they still have everyday problems.
Yeah, that's the hitch I put in with Maeve. Like she's terrible at school. Like she has only one class she's actually good at. And this was a class she did not, and this was a class she signed up for just because she initially thought it was going to be an easy one. She could breeze through, but then she actually found out she liked it.
Which class is that?
I don't want to give it away.
I
don't want to give it away just because let's just say it involves one of Dan's characters.
Okay. That sounds okay. So it's a bit of a surprise. You wanted to be the readers to discover that on their own.
Yeah, let me put it this way: most of her classes, Maeve has to struggle just to get C's.
Yeah, she needs a tutor.
Probably.
You're like probably. But as we're getting towards the end of the podcast here, do you guys want to go around and just talk about the last minute things for projects and what to look forward to in the new year?
Like I said, everything's kind of more or less progressing the same as it always has. I'm just gonna throw money at Victor and Ginger to get stuff done, and as more content gets pushed out, hopefully that brings more people in. But I am hoping to get the first issue of Changeling done within the first half of 2019. I say hope because I do not know the future, and I do not know how this will turn out. But I will promise, one way or another, it's gonna get done.
That's a promise.
Yeah, it will get done one way or another. That much I can say for sure.
If using your best guesstimate, what can you expect for the month of January? Do you think?
The month of January, I think we can expect some new pages, possibly some new character art and concept sketches. And I'm also gonna be testing some things out with Ginger because she has also said she can letter. It's just like I said, Yeah, that's what I can hope for, and also hoping to make the rounds on more podcasts and streams to plug it and building up the community more.
That's awesome. Yeah, get the word out there.
Yep.
Nice. Well, that's exciting. We'll have a lot to look forward to in the new year for the Changeling then.
So.
And then, Matt, how are things coming along with both Mythics and McKinnon Chronicles?
Well, I think that, Mythics is going to be starting its run on Patreon on January 15th, and then January 18th for the traditional webcomic sites. And McKinnon Chronicles has, for now, a TVA date for when it's going to go live on Indiegogo. So, in a way, expect it when it appears.
That's always a good way to do it, isn't it?
Yep.
And then Cody, what do you have serving up on the plate this January?
Oh, well, the rest of this month still has some good stuff. We continue shipping for Jack. Folks, I doubt many who who attend these and listen to them haven't had backed me and hadn't sent in their shipping info. But again, if you haven't, and I haven't,
tell your friends too.
Go ahead and do that. Please do.
And spread the word too. And if you know anyone else who's backed it, let them know. You know, we've shipped out I believe we shipped out all the addresses we have. There you go. So we're just waiting on.
Please keep them up. If you're international, I should have an update for you. Another one. We did one, I believe, earlier this week. That was kind of important, but I should have another one next week for you guys. I'm gonna have to talk to Wikid here soon about a few things. Hope maybe even after this, if you guys got a minute.
Sure.
And that's on the Jack front. Issue number 2 still getting work in, still getting done. Hopefully early next year it will be ready for all the other fun stuff. Almost all the pinups are at a stage of decent progress. Most of them I've seen the outline and approved how they're going to look, so that's cool. I'm stoked for those because a lot of the pieces there's a few that are homages to comics I love, which I'm just stoked to see Jack there, and some are just badass pictures of some characters that I'm really stoked to see in somebody else's style and with a little bit more action in some cases. So that's really cool. I'm really excited for those. Cactus Coyote is the other thing. That's our consistent release. You can always catch up on that during the week. Every week there's going to be new pages, usually 3, sometimes 4 if there's a double spread. We're going to try and give more when there's a double spread than less, but it might come out that we only give 2 pages a week and then the next week's 4. It's far we haven't needed to do anything but just here's more. So I'm pretty stoked about that. That's on Patreon for $1. If you're not comfortable with Patreon, I did set up a Subscribe Star. Sadly, Subscribe Star was just taken down from their payment processors at least, and for taking new subscribers. So you can't really go there to support us if you don't like Patreon, which does suck, but it is what it is. The other way to support us is through our merchandise at the moment. Here soon, we're also going to have an announcement on Jack's front on the digital release of Jack to the backers, and then shortly after to the public. So that actually should be happening by the end of this month at the latest is my hope. So that's another thing to look forward to. Jack will be in the wild for everybody to purchase, hopefully by the end of the month in digital at least. That would be cool. But yeah, the future's looking good. It's just a lot of work and hoping it continues to grow. Just all good stuff.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of really good stuff coming out, like you said, this month and in the coming months next year as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm hoping to get to issue number 3's campaign first quarter next year, but again, we'll see. Issue 2 is progressing how it's progressing, and it's doing well comparatively. But there's a lot of ways it could be doing better in terms of speed. But we're balancing our quality and we want to deliver something people really enjoy. So I'm
Can
hoping
you-
everybody's patient. Best I can do is keep letting folks know what's going on and keep trying to get things moving forward with quality as fast as they can.
Now, can you share anything about issue 2 at the moment? Have such as if Laborde Matthias has gotten to you get his hands on any of the material yet, or if it's still in earlier phases than that, or what can you share with us?
Issue 2 is much earlier than I would have liked at this point. In fact, when I had originally planned it, it should have been released in November, but that was a way hopeful plan, way hopeful. So I'm not too off on that. The current progress right now, I have to say, I'm not stoked, but we've come to a place where I'm feeling more comfortable than I was, say, even last week. So I think we're going in the right direction.
That's good.
It's going well. All things considered, and especially with my the last time I did this with Maxi, our artist, it was very similar to this. So I should have expected something like this, especially since how long it took Jack to be funded, since we agreed on some things, and there's been a lot of flex to make this happen on basically everybody involved. Wikid flexed like crazy. I've had to on a lot of things. All my artists and letterers have had to flex here and there on different things to make this happen for folks, and it's just been amazing that we've been able to do it. And I'm super stoked to do it again. I'm really excited for issue 3's campaign, and I'm really super freaking excited to see issue 2 actually be a thing. And so I'm doing my best, and we're all doing our best. And hopefully, my goal is once we have enough pages together, then I'll start leaking. I've been leaking panels here and there in comments and such from issue 2, so people actually have seen good pieces of it already. But I haven't gotten to it colored because personal matters with the colorist, being busy, and honestly the comic book market and the pay per the work, not particularly for me, but just overall for a lifestyle, taking care of a family isn't great. So there's adaptation there in terms of it having to switch more to a hobby for him. So I haven't gotten to getting him started on coloring, which I am hoping to do next year. We should have more than enough pages for him to start. Once again, should have it ready first quarter next year, probably way early first quarter. But I have to retract some promises because I already wasn't able to deliver on a few. Well, not just me, the team wasn't able to, which sucks. But it's going good. That's why we're doing Jack's release, how we're doing it. We would have loved to have had issue 2 to ship out at the same time. We would have loved to have the pinups to ship out at the same time. All of those things that would have been nice, we had to flex on. But everybody's going to get what they need at prices that honestly would not have been too sustainable without Wikid. So it's I'm just grateful, and I can promise we'll deliver a quality product and something that lives up to what we've already delivered and grows it. And I just wish I could speed it up for everybody, especially myself, honestly. But I want it done right. And I think everybody wants it done right. And everybody's reception of issue 1 so far means that I think we've got the leverage I need to be able to take the time we need for issue 2 to really be what it needs to be. And I'm taking steps to speed things up. So I think everything's under control. It's just things take time.
Very true.
Simple, take time and adaptation.
Well, that's awesome, man. We're really looking forward to seeing more of Jack Irons in the near future.
Oh, absolutely.
And then on my front, I suppose I'll plug a few of my projects. Barrels issue 2 is going to be coming out probably, I would think, January, probably pretty early January, and maybe that'd be perfect. It'll be right along for my release of my upcoming light novel.
Nice.
It's going to be a sci-fi, a futuristic thriller with a bit of a Black Mirror spin on it, and so you can check out the artist. He's on Instagram and on Twitter. He's Mike Tony Design. and he's got a lot of really cool anime inspired art, and I really like his work. And go check out Jeff at Jeff R. Lasley on Twitter. He's an incredible artist. Love working with him. So those two projects will be coming out soon, and I've also got a new comic project that I've got in development for starting in March of next year, and I'm currently looking for a colorist to work on the project. So anybody out there, if you're interested, just you can email us at wikidpublishing@gmail.com. And yeah, I mean, me and Matt are working on Project R Chapter 3. That's making some progress as well, with some new art coming out for that. And yeah, that's about it for me. You can follow me personally on Twitter at Nubguy. And Barrels issue 2, like I said, is going to be really exciting. It's going to have a lot of elements you might not normally see in a 1920s mafia comic. Like there's going to be a lot of horror elements, and a lot of action, and a lot of interesting historical moments. So I'm really looking forward to that, and hope you guys check it out. And Matt, do you want to talk a little bit about what you're working on in January? Matt, Matt.
I'll go ahead and let everybody go. Let's go first.
You're last. You're last. Yeah, no, you're last, man.
Oh, I'm already there?
Yeah, okay. We're already deal.
All right. Sorry about that.
That's all good.
Pretty much what I've been up to is working on some more concept art, and I've been currently working on Dissolution as well. Dissolution 2030 written by Aaron Caramelli or Calamari.
He's another one of our Wikid creators.
Yes. I don't know if he was on earlier, but I'm working on that. And like Michael said a little bit ago, I am also working on Project R Chapter 3. There are a few things that will be happening in that one. So we'll be switching up from a little bit more of the world building and build up to everything that's kind of going on. There will be more somewhat of a suspenseful action sequence you should look out for. But I mean, just a lot of different progress for those. And for me personally, you can follow me on Instagram, MB_Zulos, and then sorry about that. And then on Twitter with the handle MattB_Sulos, SULOS. And I post almost all my updates as well.
Yeah, he has a lot of cool art he posts on there, and always updating with new pieces that he's been working on. And just to plug a Project R for us, just real quick, if you guys haven't checked it out, it was our first manga that me and Matt created that started this whole adventure, this whole company, this everything. And it's a fun comic. It's a fun comic manga. It's like it takes place in ancient Rome, and it's got a lot of different genres from historical fiction to action, horror, and it's even got sci-fi and fantasy elements. So it's a huge epic story, and we're really excited about it. So if you haven't checked it out, you can go check it out. It's also available on Amazon as well. It's the Wikid store. You can buy it from us directly. That's always the best way to go, but it's available on Kindle on Amazon if you're interested in the digital version at this time. But yeah, and I was as we close up here, I wanted to ask you guys, what do you think of adding in a new feature? Would you guys be down to do a game feature on the podcast? What do you guys think of that idea?
What exactly?
What do you mean by game?
I listen to one of my favorite podcasts. They always do a game every episode, and it's like a little game. Like I'm trying to think of one. One of them, they have to. Oh, one of the games they play is they have to. Everyone thinks like two people usually play it, but like they think of a word, and then like so I'll say a random word and that person says a random word, and then on the next time they go 3, 2, 1, and they both try and say the same word, getting closer and closer, and if you say the same word, you win. Huh. So it's kind of like a funny little maybe they're improv games. I'm not sure, but something like that of that nature.
I mean, if you can find and then come up with some good ones, I'd probably be down as long as I'm not as whipped as I am today.
Yeah, right. Get a little more sleep next time, hopefully, if that works out.
I'd also be pretty down with like a Q&A segment at the end.
That'd be pretty cool. Yeah, that's actually a good feature as well. Yeah. Let people in the audience ask more questions. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking like the night before we go live, we just put up a thread on, or the day before we go live, we put up a thread on Twitter and have people submit.
Or we can even encourage people to email questions into the Wikid email, and then we can gather up, questions that people send into us there too, as well to read off.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
Nice letters section, you might say, or mailbag or something. All right.
Yeah, totally.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, that's interesting. That'd be fun. I'd like to add some different features and stuff to the podcast. So cool. Well, awesome, guys. Thanks for joining us today.
Other people create some suggestions as well on Twitter.
Yeah, if you guys have any suggestions,
section below. If you guys have any suggestions, go ahead and let us know.
Anything you'd like to see us add, improve on, change up, whatever you guys think, just let us know what your thoughts are on the podcast. We'd love to hear some from you guys. And make sure to follow everyone on Twitter on their different handles, and look out for their awesome projects. And next time will be after the next podcast should be on the 29th. So it'll be after Christmas or after holidays. So everyone have a great holiday break. Enjoy your holidays, everyone.
Yep. Merry Christmas, everyone.
And to all,
Christmas and happy holidays.
Actually, I want to roll that back. Everyone, don't have a Merry Christmas. Have a wicked Christmas.
There you go. There you go. I like that. A wicked Christmas and a wicked good night. Well, thanks again, guys, and we'll see you all next time. It's been a great podcast, man. And get wicked, man.
Yeah.